Testing 1 2 1 2 3. Ba 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 booey. Chat, if you can hear me, could I please get a 5YL in the chat? Once again, if you can hear me, could I please get a 5YL in the chat?
Welcome aboard.
Okay, we got a bunch of 5YL in the chat. Awesome. Mr. Roberto, can we get a tester word, please?
Fergalicious.
Definition. If people heard Rob's tester word, please. Yeah, people are spelling it correctly too. Holy crap. Okay, cool.
Yeah, definition make the boys go loco. Let me know if I'm too quiet in comparison to Ash or the music as well. I know my microphone has problems with that sometimes.
Yes. Please let us know so we can fix everything here at the beginning before we get into all the meat of the stream.
Yeah, get that big ol' steak.
Some steak.
Ah.
Everyone says sounding fine. Alright, cool. With that, one second. Wabam! Good evening, Internet World and Universe. This is OR Ash.
I'm Kuro the artist.
And welcome to the Chapter 12 5-Whale Q&A stream / annual amalgam / Comsmas winner raffle winner announcement. Hello, everyone.
A lot of stuff happening today.
Yes, we're comboing everything at the tail end of the year, so we don't have to do anything else for the next couple days.
Yeah. Why
welcome.
do something you can do nothing?
Exactly. So, Rob, you want to explain what we're doing here today?
Yeah, so basically, Chapter 12 of 5YL has been released, so you can check that out on our website currently. We are looking to expand to more platforms, such as Webtoon, but I'm waiting to get the recalibrated pages completed before we make that jump. So right now it's just exclusively on our website, theinktank.co/5yearslater. You can look at our concept art there as well. And the 5YL wiki page will be updated right after this stream with all the information you're probably looking for. Plot summary, trivia, Easter eggs, all that good stuff. But for now, feel free to ask us any question. We might not be able to answer every question. Some might be because of spoilers. Others just because we don't have an answer for you. But feel free to jump at it. If you use bits or any type of announcement or form or anything, we'll probably see your question a little better. But that does not guarantee an answer, so use bits at your own risk. In the meantime, we will also be watching Ash draw his annual amalgam. The past couple of years, he always draws a big old fusion at the end of the year, and it's that time again. And before we go into a little bit more detail about what that fusion is, we'd also like to say that his Comsmas raffle, the winner will be announced at the end of the stream. Ash, why don't you give us a rundown on how people can enter, and then let us know what the annual amalgam is.
So, firstly, for the Comsmas raffle, for those who are unaware, during December I do a series of streams where I try to catch up with my commissions before the end of the year, titled Comsmas. This year I wanted to change it up a little bit by making a raffle where the winner would receive a free simple commission from myself. Just giving myself even more work for the new year, essentially. But in the spirit of giving of the Christmas season. The way that you enter is by subscribing here on the Twitch. If you yourself subscribe, that gets you one entry into the raffle, and if you gift 5 or more gifted subs out to the community, for every 5 gifted subs you do, that is an additional entry for yourself, and, because of the spirit of giving, it also gets 1 entry for every person that received the gifted sub that you gave out. Currently, we are sitting at... Let me scroll back down. Currently, we're sitting at 134 entries. Again, if you sub or gift subs, 5 or more, during this stream before we announce the winner at the end, you still have a chance to sneak your way into the raffle. So yeah. But, aside from the raffle, the thing that I'm going to be drawing today is the annual amalgam. For those who are unaware, with the Twitch channel here on the Twitch, hi everybody, I have a regular series called Fusion Lab, where I work on various fusion commissions and sometimes just generally fusion drawings of various characters from different series and stuff. Every year, to celebrate the anniversary of Fusion Lab, at New Year's, I make an amalgam, which is usually based off of something that was popular in the community that year, and so on and so forth. As far as examples from the last couple years, our first annual amalgam was one that we did on stream, taking just character suggestions. Oh, we have Austin, aka Pokemon, subscribed. Thank you, Austin. You are now being added to the raffle. Rob, can I ask you to put the names on the raffle while I say the rest of this bit?
Do you want me to work on the Commos list
how do I do that?
Oh, wait a
Since
second.
I'm list master.
Crystal is actually saying that she'll do that in bits form. So yes, Crystal, please. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I was not instructed on how to do that prior.
Sorry.
That's all good. We didn't realize, but anyways.
So yeah, this was our first one where we just took character suggestion. This is about 13 different characters on it. The year after that, Kuro was doing a bunch of fan and alien commissions that year, so I took 20 of those and fused them all together with Kuro himself, creating Kuro. Oh my gosh, what is that?
Wonderful name, by the way.
Thank you. The year after that, Tom Perkins over on Twitter, one of the original alien and character designers on Ben 10, started posting a series of his own aliens and stuff on Twitter. So for that year's amalgam, I made a Kevin amalgam of all of those aliens thrown together. And then last year, purely because I'm a Spider-Man fan, and in November, Spider-Man was all the rage because of No Way Home happening, I did a Sinister Six fusion, being this big old boy. And just because last year during Halloween, we also did an inner amalgam for 5YL, which is this boy. In the spirit of the annual amalgam, I always make it as Kevin is the one absorbing the DNA and becoming an amalgam again. So for this year's amalgam, we are keeping in that spirit of making it Kevin as the base. But as far as the components for this year's, admittedly, I couldn't find something I thought that deemed popular enough in general throughout the year to warrant an amalgam. So this is where we get a little spoilery. With this year's amalgam, I am fusing the entire Powerhouse playlist. If you've not read Chapter 12, you're at the wrong stream today.
Yeah. So that includes Ticking Down, Atomics, Way Big, Sornitho, Monkey, Super Monkey maybe? It's kind of the same transformation, I guess.
A little bit in it.
Yeah, just a little bit. Buck Wild, The Void, Full Stop, Clockwork, and the legendary Alien X.
So yes, because we just really revealed them in the newest chapter, we are going to be using this as the amalgam this year. So after this stream, when it's posted, apologies to the public, I guess, but spoilers. But yeah. Without further ado, I'm just gonna go ahead and start sketching up a storm.
Yeah, so as he's drawing, feel free to ask us questions. I originally was going to be drawing something off screen as well. I was going to draw the Clockwork official wiki still. But I feel like just for ease of myself, to put it simply, technically there already is one, which a couple of you might have seen in the concept art of our website. It's just he's drawn slightly different in the comic, so I wanted to draw a more comic accurate Clockwork. But I mean the concept art still kind of works. I mean all of the transformations in the wiki style versus how they actually appear in the comic always have some type of differentiation. So I'm just gonna throw the Clockwork still up there. I will also be posting the official stills for Alien X and Clockwork in the 5YL chat on the Discord for you guys to see, just so that you guys can officially have them. And yeah, without maybe I'll think of something to draw in the meantime. You know, Danny does have another new form as shown at the end of this chapter. He is a little bit more angular. He's got the shoulders, the elbow spikes now. He's got blue lightning, black ooze coming out of his head, and he's got a big D on his chest. Maybe I'll draw that. But yeah, let's get started on some questions.
What made you decide
What
not
happened
to
to
do your own
Technus
take on the
and the
Alien
other
X
Bens
design
in
and
that
keep it
time
close
rupture?
to the original?
They were, for lack of a better word, dematerialized. So because they were part of a timeline that both does and does not exist anymore, it made them not physically stable in the temporal zone anymore, causing them to dematerialize and transform into a time rupture. So to say they died is kind of too simple. It's more like they just got erased. So it's a sad fate, but the stakes are high right now. And, if something doesn't happen in the past but can't change in the future, that is quite the definition of a paradox. So they would not have been able to survive that. Future Fenton has a bit of an advantage due to their suit, which, as you can probably guess, helps stabilize themselves. I'm worried for Danny. He's going full Dark Danny. In a way, yes. So I always saw Dark Danny as not a true future for Danny, as if you've seen the Ultimate Enemy special, he is a fusion of Ben and Vlad's ghost halves that sort of took on its own sentience. So in terms of Dark Danny specifically, Danny is indeed being negatively influenced by his awakening form, combined with the Void's dark matter that he absorbed in the last chapter. He's not handling it as well as Vlad, who literally just ate it like ice cream. So he's got a lot going on right now, and it's really hard for him to see things as clear as he'd like. I wouldn't say he's turning evil, more of like he is not stable. Whose idea was it to have Walkatrout bounce off of divinities? It was mine. Part of it was inspired from the discussion that I see folks have of, is Ben locked into his Powerhouse playlist? No, he is not. He can become all of his transformations. It's just now the Powerhouse playlist is unlocked. And this was sort of my way to like prove that by having him become a transformation that's so obviously not on the Powerhouse playlist. But it's also just yeah, right. What am I saying? It's also just to add a bit of levity too. Like I love when Ben 10 can be light and funny. And we're at a point in the story where it's hard to have those moments, so you only really get them out of, Gotro is pretty much the only levity character we have left right now. But I can't just start having Gotro steal all the scenes, so whenever I have a chance to throw in something fun in there, I try to take it without compromising the story. We actually talked about, when I told this idea to Ash, he suggested doing the worst, which would have made a little bit more sense, but I just thought it was funnier to see Walkatrout. So yeah. Time, huh? Thanks for the tip. Yeah, that is indeed a reference to Death Battle. I put that there because it seems like the community obviously still has a bit of a divisive opinion on that episode. And, despite me having my own opinions on the results of it, I still think in general it's pretty dope that Ben was featured in Death Battle to begin with. And I have no interest in carrying on some type of hate campaign that I have been poster boyed at. So it's sort of my way of like acknowledging the battle and being like, look, everything's all good. We can joke about it. It doesn't really matter. And it also just fit because he was about to become Clockwork. So, it was like the stars aligned for that reference to happen.
Yeah. It was very cool.
Thank you. If you have anything you want to say, by the way, feel free to jump in. I feel like I'm sort of just taking over.
Oh no, you're good. As is with, I'm like trying to focus kind of on like the anatomy of all this.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's coming out great so far.
There's a lot of boys. Oh, we got a bit readout.
You really had to throw in the
Read
Death
that
Battle
bit.
joke, huh? Smiley face, smiley face, smiley face, smiley face.
See, if you didn't hear it, it said you really had to throw in the death battle joke, huh?
Yeah, I just explained that, so.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
My bad.
yeah.
Oh, another.
Just so you know, Ash, I updated my Powerhouse Fusion Lil, and I had no idea what you were making today. Ha 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 ha.
Oh, apparently Crystal updated her Powerhouse Fusion. Didn't know that I was
You know
doing
what?
this today.
I'm gonna open up OBS on my end too, but
So you
just
can
not
hear it?
stream or anything. Yeah, so I can hear the
Alright, cool.
readouts.
That's a great idea.
All right, we're getting a stack of questions coming up, so I'm gonna try to smack these out in a rapid fire. In the God who thinks he's a
What
boy
made you
panel,
decide to
you had
stick with the
5YL Ben with
original
his
Alien
classic
X design
outfit, but the
instead of
Omnitrix
making
looked
your
like it was
own?
inside his wrist. What was about that? It was just kind of show that in Eon's perspective, there's no specific version of Ben Prime, or if you want to take it even further, Ben in general, because of the multiverse, that he sees his opinions and his stance and his perspective on Ben. Even if you did isolate it to Ben Prime, there's Kid Ben, Teen Ben, all the different Ben 10,000s in the future. So by having it be 5YL Ben wearing classic Ben's clothings and no discernible Omnitrix, it's kind of would imply that it's just the idea of Ben, period, not specifically this version of Ben. So what are you guys gonna call Danny's new awakened form? Dark Phantom, Negative Danny, or Anti Phantom? So the one at the end of chapter 11 we called Fury Phantom or Phantom Fury. Either works, I guess. It doesn't really matter. This one, I have it in my notes as Phantom Frenzy, but these are just like classifications for us. Like in the context of the comic, it's always just Danny. Like they're not going to start naming his forms how Ben names his aliens, but for the sake of us as the audience out of universe, we call him Phantom Frenzy. Uh, from the Ben 10 reboot episodes I've seen, which one do I think can compete against the first 4 series in the franchise? That's less of a 5 whale question. We're gonna try to stay on topic for now, but just because I did read that out, I'll give you an answer. I do think Omnitricked was pretty interesting. I know it's kind of a cop-out answer because it's what everybody would say, but at the same time, it's true. Like, Omnitricked is genuinely a good episode to me. And I feel like if the reboot went a little bit more story-driven, and again, it wasn't entirely their decision, but had they had the opportunity to, going that direction would be the way I would like to take that show. What made y'all decide to kill off Crunch? Things sort of just led up to that decision. I feel like because of the toll it will take on the characters in the future, I'm gonna kind of back up a little bit from going in specifics about that decision because, as Ben has said, it's not over yet. So we'll see where that goes. But it has been a decision for a while. It's been part of the overall plan. So I guess to answer it without saying too much, it was always the plan. It's not something that we just decided to do. Will I be doing Omniverse breakdowns? Yes. Where did the idea of Clockwork's massive cannon arms come from? I don't know. Hold on. Sounds like you got a...
Oh, sorry.
Did you take some of Maltruant's aesthetic for the Clockwork design?
We tried.
Yeah.
I know we looked at it.
I tried to.
Yeah. In the final, it was kind of just every version of Clockwork we did. In fact, as some of y'all have seen, Insane Main's Clockwork it has been out there for years, and I've been very attached to that design. So
So
man,
did
a lot of
Crunch
cheers.
Crunch then?
We'll come back to that. So I liked that design. I talked to Alex about it, asking if we can use influence for it again. You can see on the website and the chapter we did credit him to acknowledge that the final design was influenced by Alex's original work. But we did look at Maltruant. Ash did a bunch of different versions. The time cannon, I know we came up with it in a call,
Yeah,
but the
that was a
very
thing together.
initial decision, yeah. The initial decision, I don't remember how we came about it. We've had many like multi-hour long call together.
Where there's
At
no
the end of
notes
the
taken.
Heroes United, you said you were also doing that reboot crossover. Does that mean you're also doing reboot breakdowns?
We're gonna try to stay on topic with 5YL for now.
Just 5 well.
One question I have is, what is 5YL like the essence or message that it sends? The comic is not over, so I can't answer that.
Yeah.
What was the attack Portaler threw at Divinity supposed to be? I feel like if I try to go out of my way to like break it down to a science, it's never gonna make sense because, you know, the temporal zone, as far as we know, doesn't even exist in real life. Neither does teleporting turtle aliens who can open up portals.
They don't?
So if you're looking for a specific, no, I'm sorry to crush your dreams.
Damn it.
A specific, like, here's how this logically breaks down, you're not gonna get that. But I guess if I were to try to give an answer without making it seem like there's this whole thought out explanation, he's like opening up multiple rifts. Because as I've been saying for a few chapters, because Divinity is spreading his essence through the temporal zone, it is not functioning correctly. That's why when Portaler tried to create portals in chapter 10, I believe, they turned into unstable black holes. Because Portaler is not supposed to do that. That is the result of his powers not working. So it's like Portaler is taking his malfunctioning powers and trying to output that negative energy at Divinity to sort of scramble him up in a trans-dimensional fashion. And Divinity just no-sells it. In the future, for the voice of Future Fenton, how do you plan to do it to not reveal their identity? You'll find out.
In the future.
Yeah, so basically production names, Ember says in reference to the other things. Yes, just like how all the alternative Bens aren't literally called, like Fallout Ben, Ninja Ben, Super Ben, and stuff. They're all Ben Tennyson. We just have names for them in order to refer to them for ease of conversation. What makes Ben Prime different? That kind of gets broken down in Omniverse itself. I mean, that's not even something we came up with. He's just the center of his universe. Therefore, all of his alternate realities and alternate timelines diverge from him. And I wouldn't say he's the perfect version of himself, but there's a lot of advantages to being Ben Prime. We've also seen that his failsafes have done some incredible feats. He's very tactical. He's very skilled. He's very close friends with Paradox, and Azimuth is also very close friends with Paradox, so they have a lot of insider knowledge on the greater workings of the Omniverse that, as we've seen with No Watch Ben, some Bens can't even fathom. You know, Ben's fought a celestial sapien and won. He's seen the creation of his own universe twice. There's a ton of reasons that makes him different. Was there ever a time where I thought about making Alien X different than what we've seen, or was his 5YL design the first and final? You can see the concept art on our website. There's much more existing concept art somewhere. I straight up just can't find it. But so with Alien X, it's just when you picture Alien X, you hear Alien X in your head. We all have the same image. It's the Starman. And I feel like that's sort of important with him. We love to have a lot of fun with 5YL designs and taking them our own direction, but because the story is very much centered around, at least Ben's personal story in 5YL, is centered around whether or not he feels it's right to use powers and abilities such as Alien X. It makes the most sense to just make his design very straightforward. Like, this is Alien X. There's no real reason to mess with it. Like, it would be changing it just for the sake of changing it. Like, oh, it's 5YL. How are we going to switch up Alien X? Let's just not. The only real way I did was by connecting his crown, I've seen people call it, to the brim of his eyebrows, and making the center crown a full-on horn.
Starman? Maybe you should have made him look more like David Bowie. Smiley face. I've joked about that before.
That's good. But yeah, it just makes the most sense to just have him look like what you would expect, as some greater cosmic being. He doesn't really need to look like anything, I guess. Like, he's actually very challenging for me to draw, though. Like, I was just telling Ash before the stream, I would much rather draw the Void 20 times in a row than draw Alien X once, because there's no details to rely on. He doesn't have any shading. He is purely just his shape.
It's just Alien.
So his entire design is reliant specifically on his outline and proportions. So it's a lot harder to get away with relying on other assets of the character for some scenes. Like some drawings I do look a little bit funky, but once you add the shading, it helps. It helps with the angle, the perspective, all of that, different coloring, different outfits. But Alien X is so simple that the only things that are there you have to get right. Every line has to be perfect, or he's gonna look wrong. So he's a very challenging design for me. Alright, Weicha and Zescare are going to have a cameo in 5YL since their presence in And Beyond. I guess you'll have to wait and see. If 5YL been able to use Ultimate Aliens, he is not, unless he put the Ultimatrix back on, which it's currently dismantled and sitting in Azimuth's lab right now. So that's probably not going to happen. What made me choose Danny for a crossover with Ben instead of characters like Rex, Adventure, I'm assuming Adventure Time, or Steven Universe? It's the opposite, actually. 5YL was conceptualized as a Danny Phantom comic, which I feel like, so I'll get to what I'm about to say in a second, but to answer your question, 5YL was conceptualized to be a Danny Phantom comic. During its creation, the Go Ghost Again movement was very strong. Butch Hartman just started making a more significant presence on YouTube, making new Danny Phantom content. Fan art was everywhere, Nickelodeon was acknowledging it in many different ways. So it seemed like, I kind of wanted to participate in that, because Danny Phantom was a very big show for me growing up. In fact, I was a fan of Danny Phantom before I was a fan of Ben 10, believe it or not. I would draw the characters all the time. I loved the music, I loved the action, I loved the stories, I loved the Ghost Zone. And I figured, because I love Ben 10, and there was a period of time I was drawing them together a lot, maybe it'd be fun to squeeze in Ben 10 somewhere to really get Danny Phantom fans on board with, like, hey, well, Ben 10's also pretty cool. Check this out. And then the fan base proceeded to be completely dominated by Ben 10 fans, which I did not see coming.
Nah. People
I did not see that coming.
Ben's the main character. Damn.
Yeah. So it was important for me to acknowledge the origin of the comic. So one time I made a statement that Danny is the main character. And I'm just waiting for that.
I can't believe that 5 started as Kuro being peer pressured by Danny Phantom. It's crazy.
That's a simplification, but I guess so. But anyways, I made a statement a while back saying Danny was the main character, and I guess it was a very strong statement as to say, like, the whole thing is about Danny. In a way, yes, because of the overall conception of the story. But, that's not to say, like, Vlad's story isn't important, Divinity's story isn't important, Ben's story isn't important. I like to see all 4 of those characters as the protagonist of their own adventure. But Danny was the main character in a sense that the comic was built on him and Vlad's story continuing, and I just wanted to pay respects to Ben 10 and throw him in there to have my own fun with it. Was Alien X's hand a tracing of a photo? No, but it was taken from a photo reference, so I act out like 60% of what you see. But it's hard to just trace over myself because everyone has different proportions. Like, Vlad has a much wider chest than me. So whenever I take a picture of myself or Vlad, I always have to keep that in mind. Alien X is a lot taller and more muscular. And I guess you can see some panels. There's semblances of photo references there because I have the opportunity to get very specific with the line work and the angles and detail. But it's very hard to trace for characters that have very different bodies than I do. But yeah, most of the panels do come from photo references. Like I'll like get up on chairs and jump off of them if I have to, or I'll set up a timer and like duct tape it to my window and all of that. I'll have Yvonne like take weird pictures of myself, like I can't do a backflip or something, so I'll like hang upside down on the couch with my foot in the air. Just stuff like that. I mean, once you look past how goofy it feels, like photo references are really like the meat and potatoes of my art. And it's very important to just go for it. It really improves everything. What else is there? For how much longer do I see myself working on 5YL? Until it's over, pretty much. I didn't see myself working on it this long when I first started, but I also didn't see it becoming this big or having this much art investment into it, or even having someone else work on it with me, like on the actual pages, like Ryan doing backgrounds in general. So things are always changing, so I try not to think about limitations like that, where it's like, oh, if I don't get this done in the next 2 years, you know, such and such. I used to, but it just felt limiting, and it felt like I kept setting unrealistic goals for myself and being let down by, you know, not being able to see unforeseen events. I guess the future's always changing. I couldn't have predicted half the stuff that happened to me this year, so who knows? But when the story's done, it's done.
And you can find out faster if you become a patron down below.
Yeah. Let's take a second to reflect on this annual amalgam here. Tell me a little bit of your thoughts going forward.
Oh, there's so
with what you're doing here.
The main thing I'm trying to do is make sure I have representation of each alien in some form of fashion. So, for instance, right now at least, I've got parts of the Void, Waybig, a bit of Sornitho. That's about it at the moment. I started out mainly looking at like Clockwork and Portaler, but then that was making too weird of a shape that I didn't think worked that well, so I'm backing up a little bit. So right now the main like top head bit is going to be Waybig, the Void, Sornitho, and probably a little bit of Full Stop. As you go down the chest, it's meant to be mainly Waybig's like armor plating that works down into the Void's flesh. It's got a pair of teeth, or a set of teeth on the top, and then 2 hinged jaws hanging off of that chest piece, so that whenever he charges attacks and stuff, he can either use those as like a secondary set of arms, kind of, or bring them together and act as a jaw to a giant mouth.
I'm liking it.
Thank you. That's where I'm at currently. I'm trying to make it not be goofy, and it's really hard with how many different like colored bits and stuff there are.
Yeah.
How did Action Jack Media help you fellas in the comic? What did he do?
That's a great question. So, we were getting towards the end of this month, and there were still things that we needed to get done, such as all of the temporal zone rift cameos. But as you can see from the backgrounds, this is the most detailed work that Ash has had to do for this chapter.
Welcome aboard.
And I was still working on it as well. In fact, I would say a good maybe 15%, which might not seem like a lot, but it is. A good 15% of this chapter was drawn 2 weeks before it was uploaded. And we were running out of time. I was drawing everything out of order. So we needed to fill in the temporal zone cracks, the big 2-page spread on page 51 and 52. And you know, the universes themselves, to put it simply, aren't consequential. Like these cracks could have opened up to anything, and it doesn't matter. Actually, no, that's a wrong. I did have one hard and fast rule, but I'll get to that. And I just was talking to Ash. I was like, "Do you know any good background artists?" And Jack came up, so I shot him a message and said, "Can you send me some of your work?" And it looked great, so I sent him the template for the temporal zone cracks, and he did all the backgrounds in that 2-page spread. He did the background for the third panel on page 50, where you see all of the bootleg bends together, the broken down Coliseum and town and all of that. That was him. Uh, and did he do anything else? Oh yeah, and then he did just random things floating in the temporal zone. Every chapter we make about 5 or 10 more, just so it's not like the same assets floating around. He drew a couple of just random, obscure, abstract shapes and designs and stuff. And one of them was like a floating pair of lips, which you can see on page 42. And there's a really screwed up Bulbasaur hidden somewhere in here if you can find it. It's a bit. I'm looking right at it right now. It stands out so obviously once you find it, but it's not one you would see immediately. So yeah, long story short, Jack did the backgrounds of the temporal cracks. He did the background of the Sea of Esh panel, and he did random things floating around. And it's because we were running out of time and we needed help.
And he did an amazing job.
Yeah. Diesel, thank you for the compliments of Clockwork's design. We really enjoyed finally being able to reveal him. And designing him was quite the journey.
Dude, oh my god, that took he's gone through so many iterations. If you guys haven't seen the concept art yet for this chapter, please make sure to check it out. Clockwork, I did probably I started working on Clockwork designs back in like, what was it?
2019.
Yeah, 2019 was the first one I did, and then I think I did like 6 or 7 in total, like different passes and different takes on him, and god damn it, everyone knows how much I hate drawing mechanical things.
Yeah,
it was so
it was important to keep Clockwork mechanical for me.
Yeah.
I know that our general rule is we want more organic aliens in 5YL, but sometimes if the whole point is they're mechanical, you can't really mess with that. Armadillo, yeah, you can get away with fleshing him out, no pun intended. But Clockwork, he's a clock. He's a clock.
And he works.
Hoop says, so the Ink Tank Minecraft server is now canon to 5YL. That is correct.
Yep.
Also on page... What is it? 50. The first panel you can see a Minecraft server. That is the Ink Tank Minecraft server. It's for patrons, tier 2 and up. You can go to there right now. Most of these magnificent builds were built by Crystal Moon 101. They each come with their own lore as well. There's a whole history and story. It's become so much bigger than we thought. The Minecraft server, in terms of like the structure and the lore. It really deserves more of a spotlight. So I was hoping putting it in this comic can shine it more light on it. You really should check it out, even if just for a month. Hop in the server. We do a lot of, we're starting to do more events there. I was even thinking of making a wiki page for it, and everything that we've revealed publicly about the server, I'd put it on the page, purely just so more people know about it. Like, there's so many cool things about this server, like its structure and its lore, that goes overlooked by those who aren't patrons, and it deserves to be known, to put it simply. It's a magnificent server.
I got so much lore, so much to write and make, all for a Minecraft server that I took way too seriously.
Yeah, y'all jump on the Minecraft server when you get a chance.
Join
it's
us.
Incredible.
The next time we're adding people to it is going to be this upcoming month on the 1st. You can only join, basically how it is with the patron, you get the rewards once you've been charged, and it only charges you on the 1st of the month. So if you want to get in for this upcoming month, you got to make sure you join the patron at tier 2 or higher by no later than the end of the day, January 1st.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
So I wasn't expecting Technus being essential to Ben turning into Alien X. Whose idea was that? That was mine. And that sort of came a little bit later in the writing because little known fact, Technus himself wasn't part of 5YL to begin with in the initial draft. When we brought Insane Main on board, it was his idea to throw in Technus to balance out. Animo was already there, so we were like, well, we got Eon and Animo, but only Vlad. It'd be nice to have another Danny Phantom villain in there, and he suggested Technus. So elements of Technus' story, Eon basically just accomplished on his own, but Technus sort of gave a voice to it. Like now the Omni Chimera can talk. Now he has a little bit more intricate of a reason for being there.
And now he's funny.
So yeah, and he's funny. So him being at the core, yeah, we're killing off all the funny characters.
We. I saw you
It's
walk
just-
up behind Cooper with that crowbar. What are you talking about, we?
Yeah.
How dare you?
Yeah. All Cooper too, like the story sometimes the story just takes me there. Like the moments will all happen and the pieces will be there and I'll be like, "You know what? I think Divinity would just kill Cooper right here and there." Or like, "You know what? I think Technus is the paradox
Technos.
because, you know, he's the one who created the Omni Chimeras. He controls all of them, so his absence from the future is contradictory to future Fenton's entire timeline. So it all just kind of lined up.
That's how I think you know you've made a pretty like decent good connected lore and universe if things just kind of fall in place like that. Not to tear our own
Sometimes yeah, the story tells itself in a way. Yeah. Was there any not obvious Easter eggs in the scene which Danny tears open holes into other universes? Probably, I'm not gonna lie, because I didn't draw them, I don't know all of the Easter eggs. I know one of them is the back rooms, which is creepy pasta that, you know, has its whole thing surrounding it. I know one of them, Action Jack, the artist, has his own lore for his character, a slime boy. In the top panel is that world in which he's from. In fact, if you go to the comic on the website and go into the Google files, and you can really zoom in. You can even see slime creatures walking around in that world. One of them, I believe, was said to be a reference to what was it, Howl's Moving Castle?
Yes.
Yeah, the one that's done in the watercolor art style. That's another thing, by the way. If you really take a look at all of these panels, they're all done in different art styles, including on page 50 with the Minecraft server, the live action town in the bootleg bed world. They're all done in different art styles as well, even the wind. So that was very useful to also have Jack on, as he put it, an art style chameleon. So we really got to see a bunch of different variations of universes with their own looks to them as well.
I do still think it was funny when you messaged me asking, "Hey, is there any way you can do like wind but like pixels for the Minecraft thing?" I was like, "Yeah, I can do that."
Yeah. That came out great. I ended up having to put a little bit of a motion blur effect on it, which I know Minecraft does not do. So sorry to break that art style, but without it just looked. It was too much in the foreground that it kind of distracted from the tank lands. But it needed to be there because the other panels had it. So consistency. How is Ben able to regenerate from switching from clockwork to atomics? You can think of that in two different ways. Either is fine with me. One of them is, you know, the damage transferring from alien to alien is kind of just an unnecessary weakness
They're whole
after a
different
while.
bodies.
Yeah, the show itself contradicted that so many times, so even that's not a hard and fast rule anymore. So, you know, every time Ben transforms, his whole body is getting reconstructed. Like, I mean, when he becomes way big, he's literally gaining so much additional matter that he didn't have before. or else he would be transparent because his atoms would just be splitting rather than multiplying. So between transformations, it's almost like rehealing yourself. Or if you don't like that explanation, just say Atomics retransmutated himself a new arm. It doesn't matter.
I mean, there's also
it wasn't.
Like... Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it didn't really seem important to me. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say there's also the thought of like, oh, there's a bit thing.
That fusion with the bootleg bins, what are his components?
We'll get to that. Ash?
Just the... Fuck, what was it? There's also just the thing of, like, people have said before, if he gets a limb cut off as an alien, if it's still missing whenever he turns human, people use examples of, like, forearms. If he gets gets an arm cut off his forearms, he still has 3 other arms. If Ben goes back and is missing an arm, that doesn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would have liked to stay true to the damage carries over from aliens between transformations if the show even did it. But the show clearly proved to itself that it does not care. So why should I? But I mean, picturing the Powerhouse playlist sequence.
When Divinity ripped off Clockwork's arm, we see a fluid of some sort. Is that blood or something else?
It's his version of blood. Yeah. So, what was I saying?
Oh god, I've already forgotten. I'm sorry.
I forgot too. But there was that Omni Chimera form question. So it's not actually an Omni Chimera. I tried to hint towards that a little bit because you don't see any of Technus's goop wrapped around him. His entire existence is just because so originally for the 3-panel thing, I wanted it to only open up to universes that could not interact with the main story. Because, just because, if it opened up to like Superman's world or Steven Universe, if they see a time crack like that, they have abilities to go do something about it. They'll probably go check it out. And again, as you can probably tell, this was one of the newer pages that I made. I drew it during the production of Bolt and I's crossover, talking about the bootleg bends, and I was just like, no, because they could get up there. I mean, half of them can fly. They'll probably go try to interact. So I had to create an obstacle to give them a reason of why can't they go help Future Fenton and Lula and all of them. So I was like, what if they're just fighting this big monster, so they're busy? Yeah. And I wanted to keep it ambiguous for now. Like, I do have a bit of an idea of what this is. Maybe it's a lab experiment. Maybe it's another alternate Ben. Maybe it's their version of Kevin. Y'all don't know.
And you
I kind of do.
Will.
Yeah. But for whatever reason, if it ever becomes more important than it is right now in the future, I'm not going to comment on it. So all I will say is, hold on.
What is the story behind Walkatrout appearing? Can you guys confirm if he is in the Powerhouse
I
playlist?
knew this was gonna happen multiple
Yeah,
times.
we talked about this earlier. So when this stream is uploaded, just rewind a little bit. But yeah, so there's this big monster that I kind of just designed right on the page. I didn't feel like he was worthy of going through a whole concept thing, and I just did it myself because Ash was so busy with backgrounds. I was like, I'm not gonna make him have to worry about designing a whole fusion that shows up for one panel and never again.
I will say
So
it's a really cool fusion, though.
Thank you.
I almost before we came up with the idea to do the Powerhouse, I was like, I'll just redraw like an official still of it or whatever, and it'll be perfect.
Yeah. So he's made up of 5YL only aliens, or at least aliens that didn't exist in canon. So he's got Onion Head for his head, then Moppet for his upper torso, both aliens designed by O.R. Ash. His right arm is ultra-violent. He's got some sucker punch tentacles coming down. His lower half is Salamancer, whatever we call them.
Yeah.
He's got a bulwark arm from Kellen's alien, and he's got power plants. The hybrid transformation is shoulder and upper arm. So he's kind of lopsided. He's got 2 arms on his left side, but only 1 on his right.
That's a good amalgam, though, when it's a bit
Yeah.
lopsided.
Yeah, makes it more interesting.
I say as I'm making this fucking symmetrical as hell. Shit.
Is Rex technically an alternate Ben? Is Siavesh 1-2? Siavesh, no, because Siavesh just exists in the past. Rex, sort of. There's an explanation for that in my Heroes United breakdown. But to put it simply, he's that universe's version of the teen hero of that time. What else? What else? This is starting to pile up. So in chapter 12, Vlad kind of got what he wanted, but not the results he wanted. You'll see. 5YL is awesome. Just finished reading all the chapters. Thank you very much. Saying that while you added a god known as Ron Swanson. Yeah, Ron, I couldn't not add Ron Swanson. So that panel is basically filled with references to shows, more specifically live action media that I love, but I never really get a chance to talk about it or draw art of it because we're a very animation centered brand. And I'm sure half of our audience hasn't even heard of shows like Crazy Ex-Girlfriend or
Billy on the Street.
Billy on the Street. Yeah.
Dude,
so
when you showed me that, I was like, what the hell? Really?
Yep.
Are you guys excited for 5 almost being completed? Also, I am looking forward to the next Ultimate Forms video. Big fan of those.
5 llamas?
5 llamas.
Is that what it said? Okay, I'm reading it now. Okay.
It put 5YL and almost together.
Am I excited for it almost being completed? Honestly, I don't even really think about it right now. My mind is pretty much on the motion comic. In fact, I'm even considering not releasing the next chapters before the motion comic. Because at this point, we're so close to the end of the story, I feel like it would be more rewarding for the audience to experience the end of 5YL for the first time as in the motion comic. Yeah. So originally, I was just gonna finish the next 2 chapters and release them whenever they were done. I made a lot of arrangements to get them done by early next year, but I don't know. Like I said, I didn't expect 5YL to become this big and this important. I feel like it would kind of, I don't know. It wouldn't feel as significant just to like read the ending, because I know a lot of people speed read, so it doesn't really let the certain moments resonate with them as much as I would want them to. A lot of people skip over some dialogue accidentally. Sometimes people, might not be able to understand the context of the scene unless it was paced out. Because when I'm writing these scripts, I can picture everything in my head: the voices, the pacing, how long this sentence is supposed to be said, and in what context and with what flavor of pronunciation. So I feel like I'm more excited for 5YL to end as the motion comic rather than just trying to get this done. If Monkey's a Saiyan DNA sample from Ben's universe, if Ben could meet Canon Goku, could he scan his DNA and have both samples of Saiyan DNA like Upchuck's race? Yes. In fact, I feel like that's the first time anyone's ever asked that.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be exactly like that because they're 2 different Saiyans. Yeah. Yep. We know the Omnitrix can't scan a ghost, but what if there's an alien species who learned how to manipulate ecto-energy without becoming a ghost? Well, other aliens or people in general can manipulate ecto-energy. I mean, Jack Fenton's vacuum can manipulate ecto-energy.
Yeah, that's kind of
that's
kind of like with magic. It's if you can learn how to do it, anyone can. It's whatever. It's not something genetically tied into you, though. It's a skill that you learn.
Yeah. It's just very hard to do it, and if you're not a ghost, it'll probably have horrible side effects, but it is possible. Yeah, so sure, probably. But they're not going to be doing stuff like what Vlad, Danny, and Ghost Clockwork can do. Unless, like, Ben sat as that alien for years in practice, in which, like... Yeah, in which, like, how is this interesting anymore? Yeah. What was it like doing the 4th wall breaking power for Eon? Oh, I've been picturing that moment for years. I was so excited to do that. And I'm glad people caught on to that. I was afraid it wasn't like as obvious as like Portaler and Divinity are literally breaking the comics panels And then on page, what is it? 55, you even see a different angle of it. So it's like the literal panels of the comic is breaking. I felt like it was a nice way to show how powerful they're getting in an interesting way without just more like energy and auras and explosions and stuff. You can also see the fourth wall break in a way when Divinity separates Sornitho's Photoshop layers. That effect was very hard to get right. If I was going to be completely honest, I'm still not 100% satisfied with the result, but it's at least enough where you can tell what's happening and what it's supposed to be.
Right.
But yeah, that both of those were very fun to do. And like, you know, I try to make Divinity very playful with his powers, because Danny and Vlad, it's pretty much Laser City. So I don't want to do the same thing with Ben and Divinity. So, you know, on page 46, when they're starting to break the panels, they're not doing just like a beam struggle or something. Like Portaler's shooting multiple temporal tendrils at him, and Divinity creates this like geometrical shape to deflect them. I don't know. So are the original 5YL last two chapters release dates not true anymore? They never had release dates to begin with, so I don't know. I think all I said was like 2023, maybe early 2023. So I would just say you're not going to see them until the motion comic is out, because at this point in the story, you know, we're already dubbing it. We're already putting the cast together. We're already recalibrating the older pages. It's like, why would I just put the ending out there when I could do it in a much better way? Because then what's even the point of reading them? Like, you know, people who might want to wait to experience 5YL for the motion comic, I know there's a large part of our fans that are doing that just because they don't want to read a comic. They'd rather watch something than read it, and I totally get that. But if the ending's already out there, then it ruins it. So, yeah, I'm going to wait whenever. What part of the motion comic am I most excited for? The characters finally getting voices, seeing things in motion, or even just general fan reception? All of those. It's, if I had to choose, I guess it would be fan reception, just because I know for a lot of people it would be them experiencing the story for the first time, because like I said, they don't want to read a comic. They'd rather watch something. So I feel like doing the motion comic is going to open up the opportunity for so many people to finally check out the series, and I'm excited to widen the community's engagement of 5YL. I always felt like it could be something really special for the fans, and it is for a lot of people, but the trick is getting people to actually read it, you know? And at this point, after 5 years, I feel like I've hit every corner of that avenue. Like, I've been able to reach everybody who I can within this realm, and it's either they're gonna read it or they're not. So the motion comic is gonna bring us a whole new audience and hopefully, you know, make a lot of people happy. And I'm really looking forward to that. Is chapter 13 and 14 the final chapters? Yes. Do I have any plans on releasing any other type of content after the breakdowns? I do. The Sornitho one was the one I was talking about. What was the other one? Oh, so it didn't come across. Well, I just did a whole explanation about it, so...
Go read.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Did I use Ben Rapid Transformation against Divinity like Ben versus Vilgax and Kevin in Null Void? Yeah, in fact, I wanted to do that for a while. And what, like, well before even the Powerhouse playlist, I felt like once I did the Powerhouse playlist, I missed my chance. Because, you know, people are expecting a new transformation every time, and the one that comes will be stronger than the one that came before. So originally I created Buck Wild to fill that void, that 2-page spread in his chapter where you see a bunch of bucks bouncing around. In my head, back in 2017, each one of those bucks would be a different alien, and you'd see Ben jumping around from alien to alien to alien to alien in one big, long page spread. But at this point, I was like, you know what? I don't care. Ben can go back and use older aliens. Like, even though he's Clockwork, does it really matter if he becomes Atomics again? No. So I was like, I'm just shooting my shot right here, and hopefully people will love it, and they did. So, yeah, I finally got a chance to do a rapid transformation sequence. I just had to get out of my own way.
And it was really fucking cool, too.
Yeah. What made me settle on Eon instead of Vilgax or the next cycle of Maltruant for Ben's Big Bad? Eon just made sense because A, it was going to be a crossover with Danny Phantom, so a trans-dimensional villain would make sense. As I keep trying to reiterate, the idea to include Ben came second. So it was always Danny and Vlad. And, you know, Ben was put there to make myself happy. A villain that can travel through universes just seemed like the perfect fit. I didn't even consider anybody else. Because it wouldn't have made sense. Like, why would Vilgax team up with Vlad? How would that even happen?
Vlad Gax.
Yeah, it wasn't worth it. You'd have to jump through a lot of hoops to make that happen. Or you can just use a character that can already do that and just, then nobody will question it. What was the first original alien Ash and I made for 5YL? The first original one? That both of us made?
Are you meaning together or separately? Because those are two different things.
Yeah.
Because if you're talking separately, the first original alien I ever made was the Void, I believe. Because I know when I came on originally, one of the first things you had me do aside from fusions was trying to get me to design a Powerhouse playlist so that there was just more. And I came up with the Void. Well, I came up with like 6 or 7, but the Void was the best one. As far as together, shit, I'm not sure. There's a few. There's quite a few.
Yeah, I don't know. It also depends on what counts, because like technically the first one is Acid Grime because I came up with him like almost a decade ago, but he's not exclusive to 5YL, so I don't know. It's a hard question.
It is.
How long did it take to draw the scenes of Ben switching through his Powerhouse aliens? As long as any other page, really. By then, I was very used to their design, so it was more just about getting it done. Maybe like a day or so per page. Maybe I can get the blocking of 2 pages down in a day, if I really tried. But it all depends. I mean, the effects take a lot longer than the characters themselves. Like Atomics, like his 2-page spread where he seals the paradox away in those temporal minerals for a little bit. I would draw Atomics in Divinity. I'd block that out and hand it over to Ash to do his backgrounds. Then he'd send that back to me, and then I would blend it with effects. Like, Atomics has to cast a shadow on the ground to look like he's connected to it. Then all of his energy attacks, then, add the paradox effects.
Welcome aboard.
So it's a bit of a process now. Like, if you're thinking timeline wise, it took a couple weeks, but if you were to isolate those moments, it probably took about a day or 2 per page. What was the most complicated thing for me to draw this chapter? Alien X, and it's not even close. Fuck that guy. Like I said earlier, it's just he has nothing to rely on to look good other than his outline, and that's it. So I spent 3 days drawing Alien X's panel on page 60, and I still don't like it, to be honest. But I always feel like if I'm at a point where no matter what I do, I don't like my drawing, then I'm probably just too close to it. So I might as well just not just say, oh, it's good enough, but just like accept like this is how it's going to look. And I can either live with it or I can despise it. And, it's always an artist's struggle to truly love their work. And yeah, Alien X is just a hassle. I'm not looking forward to drawing chapter 13. Not to be so negative, like I guess that's
I think it more so specified not excited to draw him in chapter 13.
But it's necessary.
Yes.
Like, I can't just not draw him.
We can't avoid it. We have been for years.
Yeah.
He's here now.
I would rather draw literally anything else than Alien X. He's just I don't know, and it's just me. Like, I know other artists can probably look at that and be like, it's fine, but it's just like I keep saying, he has nothing to rely on. You either get the outline right or you don't, and that's it. That's all you have. So if Divinity was just fast enough to move in slow time, was he also talking that fast? Yes. Is there any possible chance we might see some more aliens in the next chapters? Anything could happen. You guys did the rapid switching perfectly. It was such a perfect lead up to Alien X. Thank you. I'm glad it paid off. The motion comic would be very good for people with dyslexia like me. That's another big thing, is some people just struggle reading. I certainly do. In fact, a lot of my graphics, I add so many like color changes and drop shadows to the words because I personally, like, my eyes just get screwed up when I'm looking at stuff. So yeah, sometimes it's just hard to read, period. Like, you know, people have struggle with their own ways, with their vision, with their comprehension. So motion comic would just lay it out all for them, and it'd probably be more entertaining. Who's stronger, Divinity or Alien X? You'll find out. Yeah, you know what? You want me to just tell you right now?
No.
I'll just tell you how it ends.
Rob.
All right, here's how it ends.
No. We've worked so hard. Let me have the satisfaction.
Yeah, they asked, so I'm just gonna say it. You know, why wait?
Goddamn people.
Are the alien descriptions and powers in some pages like My Hero Academia kind of reference? Not My Hero Academia specifically, just like comics in general. Like, I've read plenty of comics where they'll just put little title cards with characters. I didn't do that originally because I was like too pretentious. I would be like, that's a cop-out. You have to explain everything in the story. No, you can't just explain everything in the story. It has to come naturally and stuff. But then I was like, you know what? It's a comic and it's cool and it's fun. You know, a little info box laying it out for you isn't gonna hurt everyone. But I was just too, I wish I was doing that from the start. In fact, part of me wishes I did it for every character. Like in Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, if anybody played that, anytime a character shows up for the first time, it does a freeze frame with like their name flies in, and it's pretty cool. And yeah, you know, I sometimes you could just have fun with it and give people information in an out of story way.
Question real quick, your opinion on this thing. Would it be weird to give him no mouth, considering half of the Powerhouse playlists don't have mouths?
Do they not?
Have Alien X, Atomics, Sornitho, Full Stop, Portaler. None of them have mouths.
Sornitho has a beak.
That doesn't count. It's a fucking beak.
Atomics. Give him Atomics' his lower jaw. See what that
grumpy.
looks like.
Now he just looks grumpy.
Kevin's always grumpy.
I mean, you're not wrong.
All right. Yeah. I mean, if you don't like it, then don't do it. But I mean, I mean, he doesn't need a mouth. If you don't want to give him a mouth, I'm just letting you know what I would do.
I'm gonna come back to that. For people that are watching and pay attention to the drawing, as you can see, it's changed many times already. This is what happens with a fusion generally, but this is with 10 aliens, so like, oh god, so much more.
Yeah. Do I have any plans of making hard copies of the comics? Like that one time you made some for giveaways. Yeah, right now I'm pretty limited to giveaways. I can't legally sell hard copy editions of 5YL. If... Oh.
True gods don't need mouths, isn't that right, Kuro?
Absolutely. Mouths are overrated. Either project your thoughts psychically or quite literally shut up. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I mean, I can't sell 5YL. I just can't. If for some reason Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon both mutually agreed, I would even just let them sell it themselves and give me like I don't know, 5% of the profit. I'm already making nothing off of the comic itself, you know, so I don't need much. I would love for 5YL to just be on the shelf, or people be able to picture it in whatever way we can make that happen. Go for it. But it's very unlikely, and I can't just do it anyways.
Because legality.
Yeah, but I mean Nickelodeon Cartoon Network, just take all the profits, put it on a shelf. I don't care.
I just want to see.
Yeah. I had some fun names for Danny's swords. The double-edged sword called the Phantom Caliber, and for the hook weapon, Phantom Claw or Phantom Hook. What would you name it if you could? So I call the hook one the Hell Hook, just cause. And I might have came up with names for the other forms. I kind of just call them Danny's belt, because technically they are his belt.
It's a belt.
But the Hell Hook is one that I remember because it's fresh, and the other ones, I don't know, the Spectre Slicer might have been one. Was the Walker route joke a throw in the last minute or planned for a while? Hard to say. Like, I wouldn't say last minute as in we just came up with it on the spot. It wasn't like planned since the conception of the comic. I think I came up with that idea like a year ago or a few months back, where I was just like, I could probably slide him in there. But you know, I've been thinking about it for a bit. Has Ben used Alien X between the last time we saw him in Omniverse and his appearance in 5YL? Yes. Will Gwen get any new spells? She gets one every time she shows up, pretty much. Aside from the time travel one, I think I've made up every spell she does. And how do we come up with the magic language? It's a combination between translating things in Google Translate or just stuff that sounds cool. There's no real language or system that we use for the spells. If the story was more centered around spells, I probably would have came up with some type of method for it, or some type of like spell. What would you call it? Rule book or Bible.
Yeah.
But I kind of just, it's very situational. If Eon's the best possible DNA sample of a Cronian that the Omnitrix can get, that's a stretch. What if 5YL Ben Prime transformed into Cronian while fighting Divinity? Then Divinity would possess him, and it'd be over. Because Cronians' souls can transfer into other Cronians, so if Ben became a Cronian, Eon would just be like, bet, and take him over, and that's
like,
it.
Oh, cool, dude, thanks.
That was his whole thing in Race Against Time. Trying to force him to turn into a Cronian. And Ben Prime always gets away. Eon never succeeded.
See, people always talk about how when I make something overly powerful, I take away its legs. I'm giving this more legs.
More legs.
This guy gets more legs this time.
What were the runes did Gwen do to control Zim? Gwen didn't control Zim.
Yeah, I don't know when.
No. I mean, they captured him in Chapter 7, and trapped him in that little floating thing to imprison him. But that wasn't really Gwen's spell. That was just kind of some plumber tech they have. Oh, looks like the chat's repeating. That's got to be a glitch.
Or people just spamming questions again.
Ben's Cronian form still looks like Christian Anholt. Yeah. Yeah, so when Ben becomes a Cronian, he pretty much turns into Eon, rather than, like, Ben's version of a Cronian. You can see that pretty clearly in Race Against Time, where a 10-year-old turned into a full-grown man with slicked back hair. And I'm not going to argue that that's just what 10-year-old Cronians look like. Like,
no.
We know what's really happening there. If Ben trained with a Cronian form, could he take over Eon? Maybe.
Interesting question.
That's like, I mean, That's a loaded question. That's like saying, like, if I studied physics, could I then become a physics professor? Like, sure, but then you actually have to study physics. Like, it's not that simple. It's not like, you work out every day and you get stronger. Like, the manipulation of time and space that Cronians do is all purely intellectual. It's just like Paradox. He was immortal. He was a human being, like literally just a human. But he became so smart. He learned how to break reality with his mind. So if Ben can ever get to that level, sure. But it's not just to say, oh, Ben needs to just turn into a Cronian every now and then and, read a book and do a bunch of push-ups, and now he's on Eon's level.
Once he can do those pinky push-ups, he's good.
Yeah, it's impossible. Like Brainstorm and Gray Matter automatically give Ben a mental boost. Cronians do not. Do all the alternate Omnitrix wearers have access to this Alien X, or alternate Ben specifically gain this Alien X? Not all of them have access to it. So Eon is only able to capture Bens that either do not have control of Alien X or do not grow up to become a Ben 10,000. These are all the Bens that just couldn't be as skillful or just had much worse luck than the Bens we've seen or died. Read the whole comic and this stuck out to me. Eon says, "This is my last body." Like, this is the last body he's using. Does it mean that all the Bens he's kidnapped were just bodies that he would use till they die? Yes. Well, some of them he did use as, like, reinforcements or experiments on. Like, Experiment 10 wasn't from a universe where Ben was missing an arm and had an Omnitrix on his forehead. That was an experiment that Eon did. So sometimes he operates on them just to learn about the Omnitrix. Basically, he spent the last 4,000 years studying the Omnitrix and learning every single thing he can about it, with the ambition to hack into it and turn off the failsafes.
How is Zim going to kill Divinity?
He's not. So how exactly would deactivating Big Ben supposedly kill Crunch? This is something I'm surprised a lot of people didn't understand, because I remember I threw in a line that says it pretty specifically. So I don't know. Maybe it is on me for not making it clear, but I mean, on page 8, Lula literally says, "Technus is still covered in the dark matter. If you're that close, it'll rip you in half." Which is what happened. Crunch got right next to Technus, who is still being consumed by dark matter from the last chapter. And, Crunch is like, maybe like 6 feet compared to Big Ben, who is hundreds of feet tall. So, yeah. There's no coming back from that. Originally, they were going to launch the cure like a rocket and shoot it at them, but then Technus dismantled the Orion Knight. But yeah, I mean, I guess I'm just saying I'm surprised a lot of people, well, not a lot, but I've seen like maybe like 3 or 4 people didn't catch on to how Crunch dies. But yeah, I mean, dark matter, it's not good. Dark matter is also what's influencing Danny going insane. Because he absorbed some last chapter and can't handle it like Vlad can. Combined with the awakening form, of course. Divinity mentioned he killed Danny's version of Ben. Taking this statement, could we say that Eon managed to kill or kidnap Bens from other series? Maybe even Ben's version of Generator Rex? Specifically Ben's version of Generator Rex, no, because it was confirmed that the sane humans don't exist in each other's dimensions. There was a Ben in Danny's universe, and now he's gone. I want another page added to the chapter to show Crunch's body. That's a bit brutal. Like, I try to only get super brutal when it plays into the tone. I felt like, showing Crunch dead here would kind of oversell it a bit.
Dude,
Um,
you doing the stuff with Cooper gave everyone a taste, and now they want more.
yeah, yeah. Well, that I felt like was significant to show like, oh my god, like people are going to start dying now. Here it would kind of be like, I don't know. It didn't feel tasteful. I wanted to give Crunch a blissful send off, and just showing like his mangled up, ripped up body. I don't know about that. Um, not for this part of the story. Maybe later.
Maybe later.
Maybe later. Maybe you'll see it floating around in the temple zone somewhere.
It's horrible. What is up with the ink tank and just making like chunks of fish body parts floating through the air and things? We already did it with Arapella.
Yeah. We're anti-fish around here. What's the easiest alien to draw? Heat Blast, probably. Or at least ones that I've done. Let's limit it to the Powerhouse playlist. They're all kind of hard in a way. Like, Portaler takes forever. Buck Wild, he's another one you gotta get his angles right. Atomics, he's easier for me, but he just takes a bit. Sornitho's pretty easy for me. Monkey can be easy. Yeah, out of the Powerhouse plays Sornitho. And the Void, like, is easy in a sense that I can draw him without much struggle, but he takes forever. So easy and time-consuming are kind of contradictory things. But, non-Powerhouse playlists, I love drawing Heat Blast. He comes very natural to me. Same with Accelerate. What about you, Ash? What's an alien that comes easy to you?
Just draw in general?
Yeah.
Damn, I didn't even think about that. Part of me wants to say Upchuck, but I know with him I get very fickle about how I draw his eyes and whether or not it looks correct or not. Damn, I'm trying to think.
1 second, I just gotta switch something in the other room. Give me
Good.
10 seconds.
10, 9, 8,
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
I returned.
Oh, you actually got back within 10. Damn it.
That's right, boy.
Damn it.
In the Powerhouse versus Divinity scene, was the Void or Waybig ever meant to appear? No. It's because they're too big.
Too big.
I felt like putting them there just out of obligation, like just to say, yup, Ben used every Powerhouse alien. But then I'm thinking realistically, like, if you're fighting someone and trying not to let someone out of your sights, perhaps rapidly changing your size isn't the best move. Like, imagine fighting Ant-Man, and he keeps shrinking down and growing and stuff. It'd be so hard to keep him in your sights. So Ben's tried to choose aliens relatively the same size so that he can always keep his eye on Divinity. Why does dark matter make someone go insane when it messes with gravity? Because it does more than just mess with gravity.
Mm-hmm.
It makes you go insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why is that Technus and the Bens, who are from the present, got stuck in a massive time rupture? Because they're in the temporal zone, which is not functioning correctly. But Future Fenton, who is actually from the future, just glitched for a moment. Future Fenton's got a high-tech ecto-energy suit, and that's all I'm going to say.
Apologies, this is taking so long, by the way. I feel
It's looking good.
Forever.
Yeah, I mean, if we have the solid design down, we're about at the halfway point of our goal for this stream. We said we'd go maybe about 3 hours. It's been an hour and a half, and you're locking down the design pretty well, so not too shabby. How come Walkatrout and Alien X didn't get info box things like the other transformations? Great question. That's actually something I struggled with for a lot. The Walkatrout one was just because it would break up the pacing. Even though it was technically his first appearance, he should have had one. But I figured, like, it didn't matter to me enough to make sure it was there. You know, because I wanted the rapid transformation scene to feel intense, and I felt like putting an info box there would slow it down a little bit. As for Alien X, I actually did want to put one. I even thought about what his powers thing would be. It would say Alien X, species, celestial sapien, abilities, dreams really do come true. But again, like it would just would have been too much. And I felt like, you know, I can break my own rules if it serves the story. So even though technically they should have had ones, I felt it was best to not have them. In fact, I still almost did the Alien X one. And Ash, you talked me out of it, and I think it was the best decision. Yeah, I think it
would have
was
broke
right.
up the pacing. It was better in that sense to just not have it. I think same thing with the Waka Trout. Just because even with that scene, it's meant to be a fast-paced scene. Imagine if Five Whale was fully animated, and like anytime Ben got a new alien, it does have like a thing pop up for it. If in the middle of that fight, while he's fighting Divinity and he turns into Waka Trout to run away, if the screen just like paused and the info box came up and then went back, like yes, it'd be kind of funny, but like it would break the overall pacing of that scene real badly.
Yeah. Yep. Was dark matter being a part of the story around before Ash joined? Yes and no. But I'm not at a place where I can talk about it yet until it's over. But, I mean, it's not like just because we had the Void, all of a sudden we're changing the whole story. Just because now there's dark matter. It was more or less the same, except, you know, slightly different executions. Even with the dark matter. You know, they're in the temporal zone. All kinds of things are in there.
Welcome aboard.
Chili cheese fries.
Since you were talking about Ben becoming a Cronian, does Ben Prime have access to it? No, he asked Azimuth to remove Cronian DNA, so there's zero chance Eon can possess him. Was Waka Trout included in the fight because of all the memes about Waka Trout being secretly the most powerful alien? That was definitely in my mind, but I didn't do it because of that. I did it because it would be a very obvious statement that Ben could become non-Powerhouse playlist aliens. Like, I felt like any other alien, if I use it, people would go, does that mean they're on the Powerhouse playlist? Like, if I use Waka Trout, it's like, oh, okay, so Ben's not locked into the Powerhouse playlist. He could become Waka Trout. So, that's pretty much where it came from. It just so happened that people always joke about Waka Trout being powerful anyways, so I guess there's, like, extra payoff to that. What if Kirby ate the Omnitrix? Probably wouldn't taste good. Are chapters 13 and 14 the last chapters we'll get? Yeah, 5YL. The story of 5YL ends in chapter 14. So all the bad things that happen in this chapter is the Void's fault. That's a very isolated way of looking at it. Yeah.
Rude.
Here's something I've been thinking about, but how much of the comic planned out and how much of it is new stuff you have to add or wing it? I know it's not going to be 100% planned out from start to finish, so it would be interesting to hear how much is planned and how much you added in randomly. Most of it is still planned. I very seldom add something significant. I mean, smaller things like Easter eggs and stuff is easier to get away with. Like, obviously, in 2017, I didn't think about putting Siavesh in here. So stuff like that, if it's inconsequential, I don't have a problem changing with it. Or even just, like, some choreography. Like, if you think about it, the Powerhouse playlist rapidly changing sequence, that could have, like, anything could have happened. Like, literally anything, as long as it all led up to Ben becoming Alien X. So, you know, that changed around over the years and stuff. But the beats of the story, like what truly brings characters from A to B, is usually always the original plan from 2017. I think the biggest change, aside from Technus being included, which more of just gave. I'm just waiting
Hey
for the
guys,
cheer.
just cashed in and checked it out. No sound requests. Been dying to show both of you all the finished Danny figure.
We're saving the let's check this out towards the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what was I saying? Shoot.
Something about.
Oh yeah, Technus didn't really change the story. It kind of just made the Omni Chimeras more interesting, and gave, the villains someone else to talk to, like their own comic relief. But the inclusion of Ben's squad, they were added somewhat early on. Like the idea of Ben having his own team of students to train was Hershey's idea, and they weren't written to have as much focus as they do now. But all of those changes were still done in the very, very early stages of 5YL, so I feel like it's not really a change that much, because we were still mapping out everything. But like, in my initial idea, the students weren't as significant as I made them out to be now. But, that was still year 1. It's not like I dropped them in and by like year 4. By now, I don't really add anything that different. For the still, why aren't 5YL He Blast Shoulders Volcanoes lit? Because he's not 30 yet. I figured like having them there but not on fire is like a nice in-between Teen Heat Blast and Ben 10,000 Heat Blast. It's like he's getting there. Can Eon transform into Ben's alien since he's kind of an alternate Ben? Or is he just the Cronian form? He could have, but he always breaks and dismantles the Omnitrix after he takes over a Ben. He's just not interested in it. Like, it's not about... I can't... The story's not over, so I can't really talk to him about it. It's less like Eon sees the power as necessary. Like, he's not out to become super duper powerful. He's loving it, of course. But, he wants to save his Cronians. And, turning into Ben's aliens isn't really going to do much. Plus, he's very prideful in the Cronian race. He loves being a Cronian. He wants to be a Cronian and lead them to a better universe. Turning into Heat Blast isn't going to help that. Will Ben obtain a stronger alien than Alien X and the Omnitrix? Yes, so actually Alien X flies out of the temporal zone and back to the Godmaker and transforms into Ultimate Alien X, which allows him to access the true outer Omniverse and become a whole bunch of different aliens from other series. He becomes the Living Tribunal, he becomes Guy Ferrari, he becomes anything you could possibly imagine, and they're all stronger than Alien X.
Did you say Ferrari?
Isn't that his name?
Fieri.
That's what I said.
Oh, fuck's sake.
What application or software do you use? I use Photoshop, but currently we're watching Ashdraw, who uses MediaBang. Is that right?
Yes, all of our tools, both me and his, are listed down below, by the way.
Oh, yes, indeed.
Which I actually just got a new tablet for Christmas that I haven't opened yet. I got from Ignis and Grace. They got me a Wacom.
Wow.
Which would be my first new tablet since this one. So I'm very hesitant to use it yet.
So is Ben gonna get Cronian DNA back at some point since Eon doesn't need to possess it anymore? I mean, just ask yourself this. What would that really do? I guess to answer that simply, like, why? I hope that's not coming off super rude or anything. I guess I'm just trying to open you up to the perspective of how I'm hearing that question. It's like, I don't know, like, why would he do that?
Tell me why.
Technus didn't change the story. Crunch wouldn't say so. Oh yeah, in the original version, Vlad just goes up and like just licks him to death. The sandpapery texture of Vlad's awakening tongue just eats away at Crunch, and he licks him for hours. just running down his skin than his organs.
I don't like that implication because it implies that Vlad is a cat in his awakened form. And it makes sense with the hair.
Yeah. He is. He's a cosmic cat. Why not?
Mochi is in the comic.
Yeah.
Vlad.
Now that Crunch is gone, would it be fitting for someone came as his replacement? I feel like that's way too soon to think about. But even so, you know, it's the Orion Squad is just made up of all of the collection of younger, ambitious plumbers Ben has come across. Like, there's only 5 members because that's all he found. It's not like they're looking for a 5th member to replace Crunch. Like,
Welcome aboard.
Lula ran away from home. Gotro was sent from his home planet because he wasn't contributing to Galvan society. Gwendolyn and Kevin adopted Eve and Chirp for a little bit. Crunch wanted to be like his father, so they all just kind of, like, here and there, Ben just kept coming across these people and formed the Orion Squad. So, you know, now that Crunch is gone, it's not like they need 5 members. So, you know, if he comes across another adolescent who needs some guidance in the life of a plumber, he'll take him in. Thanks for the cheer.
Oh, thank you.
So we saw Sornitho use a combat spell in Chapter 12. Does Ben have a large number of spells to utilize, or was that the only one? He has a couple, but I mean, he has hundreds of aliens now, and Gwen already does magic, so, you know, I feel like Ben specifically, like, trying to pursue magic just because he has Sornitho isn't really true to his character. Can Ghost Freak possess Danny? I wouldn't say so. Ghost Freak can only possess living things. No, that's not true. He's possessed objects and stuff. But I would just say, like, Ecto Energy has, like, defenses against that. Like, we've seen Danny's ghost half try to possess Vlad in the Ultimate Enemy, and that ended up just fusing them together, so
Danny's
who
ghost
knows?
half possessed Danny himself when they split, and it didn't work that well.
Ash people are currently telling you to save your work. Lol.
Oh my god, thank you.
You not this whole time?
I don't remember.
Man, I save every 30 seconds. You gotta get on that, man.
It's dependent how focused I am. I'm very focused right now, so I didn't think about it.
Get on that Control S habit. Stroke, stroke, Control S. Stroke, stroke, Control S. It's like swimming.
Jeez.
Can the Salazar silencer disable Rex? Yeah, but only for, like, what he is. Like, we saw Lodestar disable Rex, and Rex just built another machine. So, like, if Rex has his smack hands out, the Salazar silencer will deconstruct them, but then Rex can just build them again. So yeah.
Yeah.
Why didn't Clockwork notice Divinity appearing above him? He did. He looks up right at him.
Yeah, he does. He said, "This is ridiculous."
Yeah, yeah. In fact, I'm making sure on page 30 he's looking right at it. So yeah, he noticed.
Did you read the comic?
You are welcome, for I am your reminder now, it seems.
Crystal the Messenger.
No, don't give her
Hello?
another title. She has
Okay.
too many already.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome aboard.
Have you seen
The
her
passing between page 2 with Danny stabbing Vlad's shoulder with its scythe and page 3 with Danny being pinned down with Vlad's tentacles is quite abrupt. Was there any page in between that was cut? No. I just felt like one thing that actually was something with panel placement I felt I needed to accept was not worrying about stuff like that so much. Like I used to always block things out where you would see the in-between action for everything. But I mean, if you see Danny attack Vlad in one panel and then at the next Vlad's pinning down Danny, you can tell what happened in between the panels. you don't need to see it, and that saves me a lot of time from drawing it. If it was animated and paced and whatnot, yeah, you'd probably need that kind of stuff. But with comics, it's okay to let
Thank you,
things
Kuro.
just
That
happen
brought my label
sometimes.
list to 185.
Dope. 185 is a good thing. And yeah, I've read a lot of comics that did that, and I don't know, I felt like that was just something I had to accept, that like I don't need to show every single in-between motion, because all that's going to do is slow things down and make more work for me. Unless the scene requires it. Like with Crunch sacrificing himself, you need those extra panels to really feel it, you know? But, I mean, if Vlad pinning Danny down, you don't need to see him take the hell hook out of his shoulder, grow his hair tentacles out, or whatever they are, and then pin him against the rock. You can just see, like, oh, he did that in all in one go. Do we plan to add someone that represents Kellen at some point, since Ash got Phil Gax? You'll have to see. You know, we can't really talk about what's going to happen in the future. If Eon can use the Omnitrix, doesn't mean he can use Alien X. No, for a multitude of reasons. One, Eon breaks the Omnitrix every time he possesses a bend and transforms into a Cronian. Two, the Alien X might not even be in their playlist. And three, even if he did, I highly doubt someone like Eon could negotiate with Bellicus and Serena. As I said before, Eon can only overpower Bens who do not have access to Alien X or become Ben 10,000 in the future. That's looking great, by the way, Ash. I like the uneven arms you got going on there.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard.
I know he knows better than two at this point, but what do you think would happen if Kevin absorbed Big Ben? He would get his DNA.
He would blow up.
Yeah, that's as simple as you can put it. I mean, what happened when Kevin absorbed Ultimate Agrigor? That. But you're absolutely right. He knows better. It wouldn't go well for him to absorb that much DNA. Kevin in 5YL can absorb a decent amount of DNA now at a time, but he can't do it for long periods of time quite yet. Maybe when he's like 40.
There's a Kevin 11,000.
What was Experiment 10 thinking when he was freed? He didn't really have much time to think about anything, I guess. It's like, you know, when you wake up and your head's all fuzzy, like you just got knocked out and the room's spinning and you can't really remember. Has that ever happened to you?
It happens every time I wake up. If someone tries to talk to me, it just sounds like if my dad's like, hey, you need to get up now, you're going to be late for work. How I'm hearing it is, Fregsnebel, Devnobajobav, Nova. I'm like,
Oh man, that's happened to me a couple of times.
How does it feel killing Chris Pratt in your comic?
Wonderful. I feel so powerful.
Now we can rank Kuro higher on the power tier list than Super Mario.
Yeah.
And Garfield. Oh, fuck.
Action Jack says, I cannot for the life of me find where you put my Bulbasaur. Oh, that's good, because when I'm gonna send you the page, but don't tell anyone. And when you see it, you're gonna be like, wow, it really is just out in the open. But
I know
like
exactly where it
in
is.
such a way you wouldn't notice. I'm sending it to you right now. Well, out in the open, as in it's not like, I don't know. I don't want to ruin it.
If you're looking for it, you'll see it.
Yeah.
I found it on my first read through, but that's because I was kind of looking for it. I was looking at all the details in the backgrounds when I read it.
It is a little bit more hidden, I guess, but you know, it's not like disguised, I guess. Like it's very clearly that's Bulbasaur.
Bulbasaur.
That's what he says.
Yeah. I saw Divinity running in time stop with his sheer speed. Can he just run through time like he's the Flash? He floats through time. He doesn't run anymore. He is always floating now. because he's a deity, I guess. So he's like zipping around. In theory, could Ben have turned back into clockwork to finish healing the rift? Yeah, divinity would just keep breaking his arms probably.
After 2, he's just like, well, fuck. What am I supposed to do now?
It'd be like that scene, if any of y'all have seen Dragon Ball Abridged, episode 24, where Frieza is just ripping off Nail's arm over and over and over again, and there's just a stack of arms that start piling up. Like, Ben kind of realized, okay, divinity can easily overpower clockwork. It's not worth it. Why are Siavesh and Ben 7 in the same universe in Chapter 12 when they are from 2 different Nuas? They're having their own crossover right now.
Yeah,
That's all I'll say about it.
We interrupted
Yeah.
a whole additional story.
Yeah, they're having their whole own adventure, their own crossover with their own big mutant. There's a whole thing that's happening right now in their perspectives. I'm glad you got to use out of my green eyeball amoeba things, which I have named Limobias. Limeba? Like amoeba? Limeo? Limebas? What are the phonetics for that?
Wingardium Leviosa. Oh, fucking know.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like those. Do the Celestial Sapiens know what's going on? Yeah. Why don't they try stopping divinity?
Don't care.
Are they just watching because they know they don't
Do you
need
guys
to,
want me
or
to
something?
go buy Alien X some clothes? Cause if you aren't gonna put some underwear on him, I will.
Make the underwear star patterns, so it
No.
looks like he's not even wearing underwear.
No. Just give him the worst's underwear, so that
Yeah.
Ben's best transformation and his worst transformation are wearing the exact same outfit.
How come Portaler is in the Powerhouse playlist when there are other commission transformations that can teleport? Because Portaler is stronger than them, and Ben's better at using Portaler. To put it simple, like, we can argue semantics about it forever, but I mean, simply put, that's just the way it is.
The rocks or squid stricter make it to 5YL?
Yeah, Squid Stricter's already has a 5 whale design. It's on the wiki right now. Rocks, I haven't got around to, but yeah, you can expect him to eventually get one. When Danny ripped open the space to other realities, could he control where the gateways went? If he tried, maybe. But he kind of just started ripping open the temporal zone out of rage. I don't even think he meant to do that, honestly. It's just his power is just at such an incomprehensible level, and the temporal zone is already broken because of divinity. So the temporal zone's just fallen apart. It's like a piece of paper, and everybody keeps dropping water on it. I think I used that analogy in Chapter 7 anyways for universes. Yeah, it's exactly that. People keep dropping water on the paper. It's just falling apart. Yeah. Are there any Ben 10 or Danny Phantom characters that were hard for me to figure out from a writing stance? You have a very
Can you
strong
guys give any hints to what is coming after 5? Also, Ash, don't forget to
save your work, and no, we can't. Were hard for you to figure out.
Welcome aboard.
You have a very strong understanding of them all, which makes the comic more enjoyable, in my opinion. Thank you very much. I would say at first I struggled a little bit with Danny because he's the most evolved from his canon self, I guess, because he was always like sort of an introvert in the series, but he was a lot more, comedic in a way. He would joke around a lot. But I also felt like a lot of characters in Danny Phantom were just products of the writing style. It had that very like cartoony, goofy Butch Hartman kind of flavor to it. So I just tried to imagine Danny more realistically. Like, who is he as a person, and not just like, a 14-year-old wisecracking superhero, and what would he grow up to be like? So I had to really think about the version of Danny I wanted to write for. Whereas Vlad, hype train incoming.
Yo.
Vlad came natural to me. Yeah, thank you for the subscription. And Jack again, like he was hard to shake the typical cartoon mannerisms.
Also, do not forget to drink some throat moisturizing liquid. I mean water. Yeah, that's what I meant.
Crystal, why?
If I have to. Is this what humans do? Yeah. Like, I know Jack has been serious in the show a handful of times, but usually only for like a beat or so. Whereas in chapter 11, in Danny's memory, which evolves into a crazy hallucination, I think that's the first time you really see Jack like have a genuine heart-to-heart with Danny that isn't just like someone learning a lesson and trying to get through the scene. So Jack, but you know, he's still Jack Fenton. So he's gotta feel like Jack Fenton. He's gotta talk like Jack Fenton. He's gotta act like Jack Fenton. But just without the influence of the cartoony nature of Danny Phantom.
Welcome aboard.
I'm glad I got to finally see one of these live streams. Well, thanks for coming, Delta Games.
Just giving a bit of money to say I love the 5 o'clock work design. Absolutely worth the wait. What was your fave Powerhouse playlist alien to design?
Thank you.
Welcome aboard.
To design, like, which one did I enjoy designing more?
Is Planet Buster still just chilling in space?
Yes, he is. Cause like, for example, I like how Buck Wild came out, but the designing process was very tedious. Same with Atomics. But a fun one, I guess I had a little bit of fun with Waybig. I know a lot of people don't really like him, but I had fun with him. I also had a lot of fun designing Monkey. He was pretty fun. What about you, Ash? You did Sornitho. You helped me with Portaler. You did the Void.
I helped with Atomics.
You helped with Atomics. You helped with Clockwork. Yeah.
I would say the most fun. I mean, honestly, probably Clockwork. Because, like, yes, I get annoyed sometimes when I have to do mechanical stuff, because it's just not my forte. But, like, if you look at the different concepts I did, that was very out of the regular realm that I work in. But I still really like some of those concept ones that I did. Like, they were very different from what I do normally, and I think they were pretty cool though, still.
Yeah. You're good at everything you do when it comes to designing.
Aw, thanks, buddy.
Yeah, shucks. This battle is not going to end with Alien X reviving everyone that's died, right? Again, we're not gonna tell you what happens. Yeah. But on that note, I will just say, just think about Ben's character so far in 5YL. And just the philosophy of being a god. Like, why doesn't Ben just revive the Arborian Pelorotas with Alien X? Why doesn't he cure cancer? You know, once people start looking at you like a god, they start questioning every single thing you do and you don't do. And Ben's whole point is, like, no one should be responsible for the fate of the universe. No matter what. No matter how good your intentions may seem, they will always be contradictory to somebody else.
What was the inspiration behind him, since he's extremely different than the canon design?
5YL who?
I don't know. I didn't hear. Oh, way big.
Oh, I just wanted him to not have armor. I imagined, like, a person made of egg yolk that started hardening and on his outer parts, and like the hardened skin just starts peeling open. Like what's a good example?
An egg.
Yeah, but when an egg gets hard, it doesn't
A hard-boiled egg.
No, that it just kind of becomes
Do you
one
guys
mass.
remember your original tune that you made as a kid?
I'm not sure.
I didn't make a full 10 as a kid, I don't think.
I made too many.
I know you said Azimuth took out Crony and DNA from the 5 Omnitrix, but if Ben DID tried to scan him, Would it give him a warning or would it say something else?
I feel like the semantics of this conversation is just going to lead to even more questions. So bottom line is Ben doesn't have Cronian DNA and is not interested in Cronian DNA. So any acknowledgement on that further, just it's not a conversation I want to have. But what's something like I could picture? There's like a liquid. If you like took a match to it and started heating it up, it would start peeling.
Wax. Oh, not
Wax?
No, that was
Yeah.
yeah.
I guess paper, maybe like a stack of papers. I don't know. Just like what would something look like if it was like made of gooey slime and it started hardening and then started peeling, and then the peeled edges sort of took the shape of Waybig's armor. So he was fun. Love the recent chapter, 5YL. Keep up the great work. Looking forward to more. Thank you very much, Home Dizzle McSlice Balls. I'm glad you enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to the next chapter coming out as well.
What was that username?
It was Home Dizzle McSlice Balls.
I don't know why that hit me so hard.
It's a good one.
Really funny.
How did he unlearn of the Ultimatrix? Did he encounter a Ben using one?
Yeah, in Ultimate Aliens episode, Ben 10,000 returns.
Yes.
Does Monkey have more than one transformation? It's just that. How come Alien X didn't get some cool gladiator uniform? It didn't look right to me. I don't even really feel like coming up with too hard of an explanation for it. It's just, I'm not interested in Celestial Sapiens wearing clothes. And that's about as far as it goes. It looks cool, objectively. Like, yeah, like Galactic Gladiator looks amazing. But for what it is, like with a Celestial Sapien and what they are and how they function and what they do. You know, why is he wearing clothes?
Yeah, it ultimately doesn't really make sense.
Yeah. What was the red-haired guy in Ben 7's dimension? It was Prototype Ben. If you've ever seen some of the concept art for Ben 10, before the classic series, there was this red-headed character called Ben, who wore that outfit, and I just felt like it would be a very deep cut for those who would get it, and for those that don't, it might prompt them to want to look it up and search about it and stuff, and take a finer look at the history of Ben 10.
I know it's not canon, but I have this mental image of when Neon is jumping around universes. He enters a live-action one and knows he's live-action, looking at his realistic hands in horror.
That's pretty great. I dig that.
That's really funny.
I dig that.
He's like, what is this? What's happening?
He's just he teleports into the real world, starts immediately screaming, and then teleports away. And he pulls out like his multi-dimensional map and fucking X's that one off.
Fuck that place.
I'm really curious how the fight between two all-powerful beings will go down. I especially am digging for the visuals. Honestly, in the Omniverse fight between Alien X and Gladiator Celestial Sapien was so disappointing. Yeah, I can agree to that. You know, with two beings that can warp reality, you'd think we'd get a little bit more than something that can be accomplished just by, you know, physical means like punching and flying. You kind of want to see a little bit of, you know, if you could warp reality, what does that mean? And I'm trying to tease that a little bit with Divinity's abilities, but not go too hard quite yet, because, you know, the Starman has just showed up. David Bowie has entered the battlefield. So we'll see where this goes. It's there.
How did you and Ash meet?
I saw a drawing he did on Facebook and started following him. And then I just started seeing his name pop up every now and then. Like, he entered one of our contests, like a fan art contest. He started posting his fusions. So he's been doing fusions like well before Ink Tank. That's not an Ink Tank thing at all. Like, he brought that to us, which is wonderful. And I just started seeing him enough where I just started becoming very attached to his work. And when it came time where I felt like we needed another person on board to carry some of this weight, Ash just seemed like the only choice. So online, yeah, put it simple, you know, put your work out there and the right person might find it.
Yeah. But that also doesn't mean go around trying to harass creators that you enjoy just to try to collab with them.
Here's a question. Why Divinity don't use his power to create a door to his people instead of crack the time zone? Sorry for my language, I'm French. That's okay, and thank you for tuning into the live stream. I hope it's not too hard to understand. Basically, in Divinity's mind, he wants to solve the Cronians' issue. He doesn't just want to save them. Like, sure, he could bring them to this universe, but they're still going to deteriorate and fall apart. So Divinity feels like it's his responsibility to save his people, which is more than just finding them a new home. Like, he's taking it upon himself to solve all of their issues so they'll never have to struggle again. And you'll see a little bit more of that in chapter 13 and 14. Was surprised that Alien X didn't have a beard. Was he ever considered to have one?
Yeah, bullied him with art, money, and general chaos. That's how I forced Ash to be my friend.
Yeah.
Just to clarify, do not do this, Plaza. Love you, Ash.
Oh, thank you, Crystal.
We love you too. I've thought about it, but it was a very quick thought. I didn't like it. I did a couple sketches with it just to see what it was like, and I was like, eh. Like, maybe I can make it look good for one or two angles, but, you know, when you're thinking about someone being in the comic, you're going to see them from all different kinds of angles, making all these different facial expressions, doing all these things. Like, is a beard really going to look good through all of that? And I think no. I don't think so. Did Eon kill the Ben from the Sea of Esh universe? Maybe. I haven't spoken too much on behalf of the Sea of Esh. Yeah, Sea of Esh did. But that Ben no longer has an Omnitrix anyways, so actually maybe not. Because, like, what's he gonna do there?
No,
like,
Eon
he's gonna
still
show
did
up and
just
see...
'cause.
Yeah, he's, like, disappointing and kills him.
Fuck this guy in particular.
Yeah. What gave you the idea for the Orion Squad, and why did you want to include them in 5YL? So I spoke a little bit about this earlier. Hershey was the one who had the idea that Ben should have his own squad of operatives to be in charge of, to kind of show a little bit more of his growth, not just as a hero, but in the plumbers. Hershey is very big on trying to advance Ben in the plumber ranks, specifically, and not just him as a character. And that's something I didn't really think of, that I'm glad he opened my eyes up to. So it was all just built on that premise. And originally I started small, where the reason that, aside from Lula, all the Orion Squad characters are just based on people I know is because initially it didn't matter that much. I thought it'd be fun to just have them all be references to us. Chirp kind of looks like me. Crunch kind of looks like Hershey. I wouldn't say they're versions of us. Like, I don't see myself as Chirp. Like, I don't write Chirp as what I would do in the story, if that makes sense. Like, they're not my characters. They're just kind of references to us. But they just evolved much more. In fact, the Lula is the only one who's not based on anybody real, because she was the only one I thought we would focus on. But now that we've grown the characters more and we focus on them, we know their history, we know their personalities and stuff. Want to say I wouldn't have initially based them on people I know if I knew they would be this important, because it would have felt disingenuous. But I also like the versions of the characters we got. I like them. You know, especially the core trio we've been following: Lula, Gotro, and Crunch. In fact, part of the reason why I don't focus on even Chirp is just because I don't care enough to focus on characters based on myself and Yvonne. Again, it just feels like disingenuous. Like, I didn't make these characters so that my character can have attention. 'Cause I just it does not interest me. So I was like, let's just leave him behind and forget about him.
Oh, 1 second. I am getting a call. Sorry.
Okay. Will 5YL end with Ben forgetting to hit the unmute button on a message from Azimuth? That would be hilarious. That's good. I like that. So next chapter will be Danny, Frenzy versus Vlad, Future Fenton, Lula, and Gotro. Will we finally get a face reveal of Future Fenton? Again, I'm not gonna tell you what happens, but let me ask y'all this. Would it kill y'all if I never revealed who Future Fenton was? Like, what if that wasn't the point? I'm not saying that's what it is, because I do like to bullshit people, but I'm just saying, in this story, like, don't ever expect anything. Because you never know. In fact, I almost didn't even use Clockwork just to subvert people's expectations, but then I was like, okay, no, now I'm not writing the story for the story. I'm writing it just to mess with fans, and that's a mistake. But yeah, I like keeping y'all on your toes, so you might not even ever find out who Future Fenton is. Because what difference does it make? Or I'm lying. You never really know.
Nobody knows.
Based on before Eon became Divinity, he had an Omnitrix on. Was it removed, or does Divinity still have an Omnitrix on? He does. It's on his left hand. That's the evolved remnants of what was his Omnitrix. Action Jack said Lime Amoeba. Limeba. Limeba. Limeba.
Lameba.
Lameba.
Sorry I'm asking this twice guys, about check this out. Last time I asked I was hit was 4 ads low, so I couldn't hear the answers you all gave.
Oh no, that's fine. Check this out. We said we'll probably save for the end. What is it, 5:09 in my time zone? We'll keep this up for maybe 30 minutes more. Yeah. And by 5:30, we'll start wrapping things up. We'll look at your check this out. We'll announce the raffle winner. We'll, probably post this sketch somewhere so y'all can see where it's going, and then Ash can either finish it off stream or do another stream. We'll see where it goes. Can Eon copy other people's powers? We saw him make a bunch of time clones like Buck Wild. Yes and no. It's more like he just knows how to also do it. Like, Divinity isn't duplicating Ben's power specifically. He just can also do that, if that makes sense. People are saying yes to something. Is that something I asked? I'm sorry, I'm tired right now.
Not that I know.
Like, would is this the would it kill y'all if I never said who Future Fenton is?
That's probably what it is.
And people are saying yes. All right, maybe I'll say it then. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where it goes. Maybe I'll just have Future Fenton take off their helmet and be like, Danny, and then they disappear. And who knows, I might do that. I have said legitimate spoilers before because people thought I was joking.
Which upchuck tongue do you prefer? Also, with the plungers on the classic tongue, can he web swing?
What?
The what?
Can he web swing?
Oh.
God,
Maybe.
That's disturbing.
I like the multi-tongues. I like the multi-tongues.
The multi-tongues are very good.
Yeah. Who came up with the idea for Gotro being Lula's new shirt? I did, just because,
It was adorable.
how is Gotro gonna keep up with Lula? it was just a way to to make it easier to have them all stay together. Um, Actually, I did talk to Hershey a couple times about trying to make a Gotro tank top with that design, but because we've switched over to Shopify, um, it's a little bit different putting those kind of things together, and I just didn't have the time to really figure it out. Um, like we need an overall pattern for that, not just like a logo on a shirt. But yeah, I was like, you know what? What if Lula just wore Gotro like a shirt, and that's how he pals around? That'd be fine, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I did.
And it's great.
I will delete the 5 years later wiki if we don't get future Fenton's face. Oh man. All I will say is I'm not changing the story based on people's reactions, but I will say I do have a conclusion to the future Fenton storyline. Some of y'all will love it. Some of y'all might not. We'll see. In fact, I can't wait till the comic is over so I can talk about the true origin of future Fenton. Like, not in the story, but like, why did I even do this in the first place? It's quite the story. And I can't wait to tell y'all in like a year or two. When will Clockwork still be uploaded to the wiki? Any minute now. You know, the wiki team all have their own lives as well, and it's all volunteer work, so it's whenever somebody is able to get around to it. But they are in the Discord right now in the 5YL chat. Why did Divinity want Ben to turn into his Surge transformation Alien X so badly? Did he want to use him to have immense power by multiplying him? You have to... Divinity wants... If Ben were to die, Divinity wants to make sure Ben stays dead, period. And you know, if he killed Ben as anyone else, it would seem like there's gonna be some fuckery going on. Like, the only way to truly know that Ben is 100% gone is if he dies as Alien X. So that's his plan. That's what makes sense to him. That's what he thinks is the way to do it, I guess, to put it simply. Oh, I liked the Bigfoot thing you were doing earlier, where he was like stepping on his feet.
I am doing it again. I'm just changing the pose up so it's not just him standing boringly.
Oh, okay.
Wait, stepping on his feet? What?
I meant like, well, you took like his lower arms and like dragged him up and made them the things he was standing on. And I liked that.
Welcome aboard.
Oh.
Yeah. But I mean, this looks good too. I was just letting you know like what I'm thinking. But you know, do as you please. You beautiful man.
Thank you.
Does Ben have aliens that are only seen by the alternative Omnitrix wielders, such as aliens like Sandstorm, Haywire, Paintbrush, Lava Lamp, Hexaboss, Morterror?
They're like Fanon ones, essentially.
Oh. I think there's case by case. Like, I know some alternate Omnitrix wielders have aliens that Ben in 5YL doesn't have, and some of them do. So there's no general answer for that. Why doesn't Lula have breasts? Do Citricaias not breastfeed? No, they do not. They're only cat-like in looks and I guess some features, but you know, they're still aliens. Their anatomy is very different from what you might expect from like an earth mammal. Does the leg bucket have a wiki page yet? No.
Welcome aboard.
That'd be funny though.
The leg bucket. What would you classify it as? Just an item?
Yeah, an item.
This is a bucket of legs of the most power. Of every species.
Can you tell us more about the Ben Tennyson from Danny's universe? He was a Ben who did find an Omnitrix, but did not get far in his adventure at all. His journey ended during his summer road trip, to put it simply. And by journey, I mean his life.
Why'd you say it like that, though? And by journey, I mean his life.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
If Alien X were to get animated, would the space pattern on his body resemble a chowder layer?
Oh, where
I
it's
would,
like one
I would
static.
think, yeah, I would think the opposite. I would like the texture to be moving, not static on the thing. Like if anything, just like a weird example, but in the Jimmy Timmy Power Hour, when Jimmy and Timmy meet each other in the trans-dimensional space towards the end of the special, and you see the space texture warping, that's what I picture.
Yeah.
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 And if you haven't seen that, just, moving space.
If Ben can transform into the peak of an alien species, what if there's a someone of the species stronger than that? Example, he'd blast peak of the species, but can a Pyro Knight on the Pyros be even stronger than them?
Relative to his age, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, if a 40-year-old Pyro Knight is still more powerful than Ben, it's just because he's older.
Well, also, just think of it in the sense of this. If it was another species wearing the Omnitrix and they turned into a peak human, would that human be stronger than a regular human that has a gun?
Oh, true.
I mean, that's how I always think about it.
Yeah, yeah. Will I have a gun?
No. That's... We don't get Omni armor and weapons. That doesn't count. Oh, god damn it.
If Divinity wants Vlad to kill Ben as Alien X, he's gonna be pissed to know Vlad's occupied by his own fault. Yeah, Vlad's Vlad, He's he always has an ulterior motive. And as much as he's agreed to side with Eon, he's still obsessed with Danny, to put it simply. He's trying to kill two birds with one stone.
Literally.
Divinity, the fool that he is, didn't realize Ben kept a spare in his trunk. You can't kill Ben Tennyson so easily. Oh, that'd be funny. Now I want to do like an April Fool's thing where like we have Divinity just straight up kill Alien X somehow, or Vlad, as the narrative would say it, and then Kevin's car teleports into the temporal zone, or the Ben's car. I forget which one. Yeah, Ben's car, and the trunk pops open and Echo pops out, and he's like, "Psych."
It's like,
Yeah.
and then Echo just duplicates a dozen times and all turn into Alien X.
Yeah. What is your favorite chapter to write, and is the motion comic will have downloadable version? And why didn't we see Ember? Oh man, that's a lot of questions. What's my favorite chapter to write? I really liked writing 7 because of the moment with Ben and Max. That was very special to me because Max is a special character to me. And I'm also going to really like writing chapter 14, I can tell. And will the motion comic have downloadable version? Probably not, because it's a video. And why didn't we see Ember and the other ghosts in the Alliance since they not die? Well, Ember and Skulker are currently fighting Eve, Chirp, Luke Extreba, and Phil over in the Plumber HQ. So I guess that answers that. They're still doing that. What gave me the idea for Evil Danny's designs? I always kind of wing it, honestly. I just evolve it further and further every time. Like, at first, I just gave Danny not elf ears, not quite elf ears, just pointy ears and flaming hair and glowing eyes in Chapter 8. No, even before that, like, his hair would sometimes become fire and sometimes glow. without pupils in the first couple chapters. Then in chapter 8, it became permanent. And then I just started thinking, how can I push this a little bit further every time? Let's change his skin color and give him sharp claws and make his ears bigger. All right, now let's change up his outfit and make his ears bigger. All right, now let's change that outfit and make his ears bigger. It comes to, I like making his ears bigger and bigger. I'm just kind of pushing the design I already have a little bit further and further. So it's kind of just been a natural progression. When I look at Frenzy Phantom and Danny Phantom, they're so different. But it's not like I set out to design Frenzy Phantom that you see at the end of chapter 12 from the start. It kind of just happened. If Kevin were to touch Divinity, would he be able to replicate all of his powers? Same answer as the Cronian stuff before. Like, Kevin would have to literally know how to do what Divinity does. Like, you could put Kevin inside of a helicopter, but that doesn't mean Kevin can fly a helicopter. It's not instinctual, it's knowledge. How did Paradox get to the Ghost Zone? What was his mission there, and what's up with his arm? So in chapter 10, I believe, they explain that Eon has done this time loop so many times that after a while, Paradox just had to step in and say something. And same happened with Ghost Clockwork, where they just started joining the battle because, you know, they started noticing the timeline being reset over and over again. And they're like, hey, what's going on? Let's go check this out. And then, you know, having too many powerful beings in one area, their natural presence just destroys reality. Like what Paradox alludes to in one episode of Ben 10. He says, like, Lost Soledad's time, the fabric of time is so paper thin there because people keep going back in time and going there. So, you know, with Divinity, Paradox, and Clockwork all in the same area for an extended period of time, it just starts breaking reality. So Divinity banished them to Clockwork's tower, and they can't leave because it'll be like they literally step outside of the tower and reality starts falling apart again. So they're stuck there until Divinity ultimately gets defeated, or they just lose and Divinity wins. If Beyond tried this plan many times, then the extra Echo could have actually happened in one timeline. That's true, yeah. That's something I try not to make it seem like a cop-out, because I truly did write it with a narrative intention. But a lot of the things that are happening in the comic, if you're asking why did it happen this way, it's because it already happened in another timeline, and Eon learned from it and is trying something new now. So it's not all just logic, it's how people react to things and the scenarios that happen. What time of day is he doing this? What place is he doing this in? It's all very meticulous. That's an awesome looking arm, by the way.
Thank you. It's a mix of a fucking way big atomics and Clockwork.
It's wonderful.
I call it the Toucanon, which is I'm realizing is a fucking name of a Pokemon. So I'm rescinding that name.
Mm-hmm. Is the Powerhouse playlist ordered from weakest to strongest through appearance in the comic or the poster? The poster, no. The poster, I just place them wherever they fit. In fact, their order is different between the poster that you can buy in our store and the cover of Chapter 12, just because, like, you know, moving around the logos and stuff, they fit better. But in their initial debut in the comic, yes, they are ordered from weakest to strongest. Up until Clockwork transforms back into Atomics, then the order is just random. It's whoever's convenient at that moment in time. How did Divinity view Alien X's perspective manipulation? Strangely. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be able to explain that to you because I can only see in 3 dimensions in our mortal plane. So I don't even know what that would look like. For the record, by the way, Alien X pinched the rupture into his hand and crushed it. Alien X is not giant, by the way. It's like when you're a little kid sitting in class and you try to like squish the teacher's head with your hands. Like if you could actually squish it. Or you know, Doctor Strange picking the time stone out of the sky in Infinity War. Like Alien X is just regular sized right now.
There's a game that came out last year called Superliminal that's that exact like the mechanics of the game are that whole like closing one eye, pinching a thing, moving it and stuff like that. So
yeah,
if you don't understand, go play the game Superliminal or watch someone play it rather, because that's exactly it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'm about wrapped up on this sketch.
Nice.
Mainly because I don't know what else to do with it. And if I keep changing it, it's an amalgam of 10 parts, so like it can just keep changing over and over again.
Yeah.
So the way I have it currently, which again I'm probably going to change it a little bit while I final render it. Let me let this read first.
Beep beep. Save your word.
Oh, thank you.
Beep, beep.
Man, you still didn't.
Look, I'm hyper focused on getting it done, and my brain. Look, Try and Ryan's what they calls me. Okay, everyone knows this. So, to recap this fusion altogether, starting with the head, you have his hair is going to be a mixture of monkey's hair and Sornitho feathers. The base of it is monkey's hair, but he's got a layer of Sornitho's wings over top it, which connect actually down into the thing hanging off of his back, leading into his chest, which is a how would I word it? It's a cowl made of the Void and of Waybig. And if you look closer at the chest, he's got like the teeth of the Void on the chest, and these two hinged things here that connect to the wings are meant to be the bottom jaws of the Void, so he can pull it up into like looking like a mouth, and he does that whenever he wraps his wings around himself to cloak himself up. And then from there, his chest is Atomix's torso, with the same type of bone patterning, but it's made from clockwork gears. Going down, I am still going to add like a small set of arms here. I just forgot to add them back on. But you've got the shoulder pads of Full Stop, which is going to have Full Stop arms coming out of the waist, going down into Buck Wild legs with Portaler feet. And you also have some more Sornitho arms sticking out of the back as to help balance himself, similar to Nanomech's legs. Then on the right arm, very simply, it is just a Super Monkey arm. That's probably just going to stay as it is, and I'm probably just going to add some more Sornitho arm underneath it. And then on this one over here, I guess right arm, or left arm for Kevin's perspective, is a cannon made up of Atomics, Clockwork, and Waybig that shoots out like the overall like celestial time Taku star energy whatever that this thing uses, because it's a mix of everything. And as far as the Alien X bits, I am simply going to place some star patterns throughout. I was going to give him Alien X's head crest, but I felt like with it being a Kevin amalgam, that would make it all too powerful if he had like the full mindscape of Alien X. This is an amalgam after all. But yes.
It's beautiful. All right, let's run through any check this outs that we have.
Of course.
Only the ones that are sent now. because we still got to wrap some other things up. So if there's any that haven't been sent yet, please just cap it here.
Mm-hmm.
So what do we got so far?
Let's take a look. Whoa, I don't see any. Oh, is it still... Okay, I don't know why, but with Check This Out, they disappear from the request queue after being there for a few minutes. And I don't know why.
How do we...
I'm trying to look. Let's see. Oh, okay. We have one from Sewer Gremlin from 16 minutes ago. It says, I'm doing this now so you can check it out later. So from Sewer Gremlin. People have different names through Discord and stuff. People, when you send Check This Out, it has to go through the Rust bucket. To clarify.
Yeah, if the information to check this out isn't there, then we're just gonna have to say it's not valid.
I found Sewer Gremlins. It says Kuro said Ultimate Buckwild would have stretchy powers, so they drew this.
Ooh, what's this? What am I looking at?
In the Rust bucket chat.
Oh, okay.
On the Discord.
Ooh.
Yeah, he's very stretchy.
Yeah, I like the antlers on him.
Makes it kind of like a jackrabbit. Is that what they're called?
Yeah.
And then above that, we have Wolfman finishing Awakened Danny figure. Dang.
Oh, yeah, I can see that now. That looks really cool.
That's really sick.
The face is a nice choice for this.
Oh, and Crystal giving an update on her Powerhouse fusion. Dang it. I don't think they look... It looks too similar. I don't think. Nah.
Ah.
Cool, though. I'm trying to see if that's all of the... Check this out. We had a lot of bits today. Everyone that donated bits and subbed and everything, thank you guys so much.
Yes, thank you.
Very quickly scrolling through.
Oh, yeah, you know what? Crystal, your fusion really shouldn't be outside of the 5YL chat.
Oh.
Yeah. And I did put in the announcement, no exceptions.
Welcome aboard.
Like,
Well,
so I
she-
feel like I'm
she
in a
made
really
that-
tight spot right here.
To my knowledge, she made that before the chapter even ever released.
But it's updated with...
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah. Yeah. Alright, so... Is that all?
I think so. I don't see any other check this outs in the log back or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All
I think
right.
That's it.
I guess the next order of business would be the winner of your Comms raffle. Is that not correct?
It is correct.
Well,
Yes.
whoop-de-doo.
Let me grab the wheel for that. One second. Having to reopen that real quick. Apparently Google Docs is just not wanting to connect now. Hello? Why? That's very annoying. One second. Oh no. Dude, okay, I don't know what is up with this. Google has been doing this thing where it just like stops working randomly.
Yeah.
And I can't... It's not letting me do anything with my browsers now. I can't open new tabs or anything. I can't interact with my stuff.
All right. Well, while you figure that out, I'll take another question or two just to keep the stream going. Here's a good one. Why isn't Full Stop stronger than Clockwork? I mean, Nalgians are interdimensional beings who are extremely advanced in technology. Oh, I love this argument. So that doesn't mean power. Like, Nalgians exist multidimensionally. That doesn't mean they control things multidimensionally. I mean, we exist on a giant rock. Does that mean we can manipulate this giant rock? We've invented nuclear missiles. Does this mean that we are powerful, more powerful than a nuclear missile? It's like those things just don't equate to each other. So sure, Nalgians can travel through dimensions, but that's about as far as that goes. I mean, that doesn't mean they have control over all these dimensions and stuff. Clockwork can stop time.
Okay, I got the wheel. Here we go.
Excellent. Here's the wheel.
The wheel is here. Okay, so with this Commsmas wheel, altogether we have 170 entries for Commsmas. Rob, can you give me a little drum roll to do the spin?
A drum. Cymbal clash.
And boom! Shay is your bay is the winner.
Hey!
Commsmas raffle.
Congratulations, Jay.
Che, you will be receiving a message via the Twitch messaging system where I will ask for either a Discord or email that I can contact you for the commission information. If you're not here and you're hearing this VOD, hi, I'll still explain this in the message I send you. But
Yay.
that is it for the Commsmas raffle. I still have to catch up on some commissions, but that's fine.
Wonderful. All right, we have the Commsmas winner, Che. Congratulations. I actually met Che at one of my events this year, so that's pretty cool.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. I met maybe 10 or 15 people this year, just at various events. You know, not a lot of strong Massachusetts presence around here, but you know, it was cool seeing who I could come across. But anyways, we got that. Your sketch is looking mighty fine. And I'm going to be updating the wiki with some information right after this stream. And then if there's anything left on the page that seems valuable that isn't on the wiki page yet, you know, now it's fair game for the mods on the wiki to start updating appearances on other pages, adding other things that might be of importance to the 5YL chapter 12 page. But if you enjoyed that chapter, please share it around. You know, every share helps, really. You know, you never know who's going to come across it for the very first time and spark their own enjoyment. We'll be coming back next year with some pretty nifty videos. It still might be another 2 or 3 weeks into January before I start regularly uploading again. I'm gonna start off with some bangers before I jump back into the breakdowns. I did want to finish the breakdowns by the end of the year, but I took things slower because I felt like it would have flowed better. But we'll see how everything ends up going in 2023. I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your week. Ash, any closing remarks?
Not much else aside from I'm surviving. How are you?
Peace.
And back to the opening screen, and then stopping the stream.